Chapter 61. Although she was afraid, Ji Rong hurriedly explained, "Big Brother Snow Eagle, you really misunderstood. That time, it was my family's servant who killed that little beggar behind my back. I only found out about it later. In front of me, you don't need to explain." Dongbo Shuang said coldly, "I told you to get out of my brother's side, this is an order." He only looked at the facts. He didn't listen to other people's lies. Moreover, according to Dragon Mountain Manor's investigation, Ji Wuhai and Ji Rong's family were very good at disguising. Ji Rong wanted to say something but stopped. Her eyes were filled with tears. "You only have 3 days." Dongbo Shuang turned around and walked away. 3 days later, if you can't do it, I will help you. But my method will be more direct. When he was 8 years old, he started to crazily practice his spear every day. During this process, Dongbo Shuang broke down and cried again and again, but he persevered. Under this kind of tempering, his willpower became incomparably terrifying. How strong would such a person's willpower be? How could a little girl like Ji Rong be able to sway him with just a few words? Even if it was Kong Yu, Dongbo Shuang was only angry at her for deceiving his feelings of trust. Moreover, he was very decisive, directly cutting off this feeling of trust. The way Dongbo Shuang handled things was very straightforward. Ruthless to himself, even more ruthless to his enemies. Yes. Ji Rong looked at Dongbo Shuang's back as he left and could only lower her head. Step by step, she walked towards Qing Shi's residence. She was thinking, what should I do? Dongbo Shuang loves his brother very much. Should I think of a way to make Qing Shi stand on my side and make Dongbo Shuang fear me? Ji Rong pondered. No, this Dongbo Shuang is an extremely decisive person. He won't be restrained by this little trick. I'm afraid he can easily hide it from his brother and secretly destroy our Ji family. What should I do? I haven't found out what wealth Dongbo Shuang's parents left behind. I haven't made any contributions. Ji Rong thought as she walked. Relying on Qing Shi. But in terms of affection, Qing Shi and her brother were probably closer. Even if he stood on her side for a moment, he would still stand on her brother's side. Damn it, damn it. Ji Rong couldn't think of a way to continue staying by Qing Shi's side. Rong thought, Ji Rong Yuing. Do you dare to disobey? Rong Ji Rong. The Bent Blade Union had once been feared by all the nobles of Water Rights Town, but Dongbo Shuang had destroyed it at the age of 15. Compared to the past, Shuang was much more frightening. Ji Qing Shi E.G. Sect. Ji Rong Ji Rong, you actually came to see me, I am very happy. Ru Ji. Ji brother Jia Snow Wang family, Ji Feng of Ji, I too. Qing Shi walked out of the castle's main building and walked side by side with Ji Rong on a flagstone road inside the castle. It's not my brother's fault. That dead nobleman seemed to have a strong background. At that time, I didn't intend to kill that young noble, but I couldn't precisely control that large-scale spell. Who would have thought that the young noble would be so unlucky as to be struck by a bolt of lightning? It's not your fault. Ji Rong comforted him. At that time, if we hadn't fought back, you would have died, and I would have been in a miserable state. I really don't dare to imagine what would have happened if I had been kidnapped. No one can hurt you. Qing Shi firmly held Ji Rong's hand. I promise. Ji Rong just smiled and didn't say anything. What's wrong? Are you in a bad mood? Qing Shi could sense his girlfriend's mood and asked, is it because you killed that noble yesterday? Don't worry, my brother is taking care of everything. He will definitely take care of everything. Not this. Ji Rong said. Then which one is it? Qing Shi asked. Tell me. Maybe I can help you. Qing Shi, let's break up. Ji Rong suddenly said. Qing Shi was stunned. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured on his head. He was completely confused. Are you kidding me? Qing Shi laughed. This kind of thing is not funny. It's true. Let's break up. Ji Rong looked at Qing Shi. Qing Shi looked at Ji Rong's eyes. He realized, this was not a joke, it was true. Why? Qing Shi couldn't understand. Yesterday we were still fine and happy. Although we had a conflict with that noble, what does that have to do with our relationship? Why do you suddenly want to break up? I like someone else, can't I? Ji Rong said. What's the reason? Tell me, tell me. Qing Shi anxiously stared at Ji Rong. Ji Rong lowered her head. Silence. Tell me. Qing Shi was so anxious that he almost went crazy. Your brother is your most important family member, right? Ji Rong said. Qing Shi wrinkled his brows. He suddenly had an idea. Your brother investigated some things about me. Ji Rong said, he thinks that I'm not a good girl and that I'm not worthy of you. He already gave me an ultimatum to leave you. Qing Shi was stunned. Your brother opposed it. How can you go against his wishes? Ji Rong looked at him. I. Qing Shi clenched his teeth. Whoever I like, my brother can't stop me. Don't lie. Do you think I don't know the relationship between you and your brother? Whoever you like, you have to get your brother's permission and blessing. Ji Rong said. Qing Shi panicked. If his brother completely opposed this, what should he do? There must be some misunderstanding. Why would he stop me? You said that he investigated you and thought that you're not a good girl. What happened? Qing Shi asked. There must be some misunderstanding. Ji Rong sneered. That happened when I was 10 years old. At that time, I was still very young. I was taking my servants to play in Water Rights Town, but a little beggar ran into us and even dirtied my beautiful clothes. At that time, I was very unhappy. My clothes were dirty, so I took my servants home in a depressed mood. After I left, one of my servants beat the little beggar. It was said that the beggar was beaten to death. When I found out, I was also very sad. But there was nothing I could do. But your brother thought that I ordered the servant to do it. He thought that I was a bad person since I was 10 years old. Ji Rong's eyes were filled with tears. What could I do? Moreover, when I was 11 years old, I came to Snow Rock Mountain to be apprenticed to Master by Yuan Ji. After living in Snow Rock Mountain for so many years, don't you know what kind of person I am? But your brother thought that I'm not a good girl. He wanted me to leave you. Ji Rong said in a low voice, when your brother was young, he was the #1 expert in our Water Rights Town. Now, he is even more unfathomable. I don't dare to offend your brother. My Ji family doesn't dare to offend your brother. So, we can only break up. Qing Shi anxiously said, how could it be like this? How could my brother do this? If Dongbua Shuang opposed, the Ji family would definitely retreat. You stay here. I'll go find my brother. Qing Shi said, wait for me. I'll definitely convince my brother. It's useless. Ji Rong shook her head. You stay here and wait for me. Dongbua Qing Shi turned around and left. He immediately rushed towards the training field. In the training field, Qing Shi directly rushed in. In the training field, a black-clothed Dongbua Shuang was practicing his spear arts. Snowflakes fluttered around the spear, making it look ethereal. It didn't have the same violent aura as before. Instead, it seemed to be one with the world. Brother! Qing Shi couldn't wait any longer and directly shouted. Shua! The spear disappeared. Dongbua Shuang stopped and put away his spear. He turned around and smiled at his brother. Oh, it's Qing Shi. What's the matter? In front of his brother, Qing Shi's aura wasn't as strong as before. He hesitated for a while before gritting his teeth and said, Brother, did you ask Ji Rong to leave me? Dongbua Shuang was surprised. This Ji Rong didn't seem to give up. He gave her 3 days to break up with his brother. He didn't expect her to do it so decisively. Yes, it's me. Dongbui Shuang nodded. Why did you do this? Qing Shi suppressed his anger. He wanted to hear his brother's explanation. She's not suitable for you. Dongbui Shuang said. Not suitable? Just because she caused the death of a little beggar when she was young? Qing Shi said. Dongbui Shuang frowned and said, because of a simple conflict, she ordered a servant to secretly torture a little beggar to death. How old was she at that time? With such a temperament, how could she be suitable for you? Ha, this is too funny. Brother, she was only 10 years old at that time. That was 6 years ago. How can you be so sure that your investigation is true? Qing Shi said. The one who did it was the servant. Moreover, you said it yourself. It should be the one who secretly tortured the little beggar to death. How can you be so sure that it was Ji Rong who gave the order? And not the servant acting on his own? Naturally, there are other evidence. Dongbui Shuang frowned. With a flip of his hand, a scroll appeared in Dongbui Shuang's hand. He flipped through it and took out a piece of paper. This piece of paper was the final conclusion. Dragon Mountain Manor suspected that they were evil god worshippers. This kind of thing could not be revealed to his brother. His brother was currently in a very emotional state. If Ji Rong heard it, then Ji Clan would immediately be on guard. Look, this is the information that Dragon Mountain Manor investigated Ji Clan. Take a look. What do you think? Is she suitable to be your wife? Dongbui Shuang passed the scroll to his brother. Dongbui Qing Shi suppressed his anger and took the scroll. He carefully flipped through it. Many of the contents were said by Ji Rong. For example, she was kicked out of the clan by her big uncle. For example, she temporarily lived in her mother's clan. She was bullied and looked down upon when she was a child. But there were also many things that he did not know. For example, Ji Rong's father, Ji Wuhai, was the mastermind behind the destruction of her big uncle's clan and her mother's clan, Yan clan. Even her big uncle's clan and many people from the Yan clan died miserably. All of this pointed to Ji Wuhai. Dongbui Qing Shi was starting to hate this Ji Wuhai. I'm done. Qing Shi closed the scroll. What do you think? Dongbui Shuang asked. Not good. Dongbui Qing Shi angrily said, the information is very detailed. But first of all, how can it be absolutely true? Second, even if it is true, it is Ji Rong's father, Ji Wuhai, who is guilty. What does this have to do with Ji Rong? When Ji Rong's family temporarily lived in the Yan clan, they were always bullied. At that time, her father drank to drown his sorrows and did not care about the family at all. Later, when he woke up, he went out to do business for a year and returned. After that, he sent his daughter to teach her. Ji Rong and her father spent very little time together. Moreover, Ji Rong is really pitiful. Before she was 10 years old, she lived a very pitiful life. When her father returned with a huge fortune, she lived the life of a noble lady for nearly a year before coming to teach her. Qing Shi angrily said, she lived a luxurious life for almost a year. The rest of the time, she was either bullied, or she lived the life of a mage under teacher's tutelage. She is a very pitiful person, how is she malicious? Dongbui Shuang frowned. According to Dragon Mountain Manor's deduction, wanting to become rich? How could it be so easy? Dragon Mountain Manor believed that when Ji Wuhai's family was bullied by the Yan clan, their lives were too miserable. That was when they became evil gods' followers. Moreover, it was very likely that they became fanatics and gained the trust of the higher-ups of the evil god division. Furthermore, Ji Wuhai indeed had the ability to do business. Thus, the evil gods faction began to help and support him. They first let him go out to do business and have a reason to become rich before returning. However, these were all deductions made by Dragon Mountain Manor's intelligence experts based on a few clues. There was not enough evidence. She has always been with me in the mage's building. I don't know what kind of person she is. Even if her father is an evil person, when the time comes, we can just ignore him. Don't tell me that our Dongbua clan is afraid of a merchant. Qing Shi hastily said. Brother, I don't know her father, but Ji Rong is definitely innocent. She is the first girl I like, and I'm afraid she will be the last. Don't be so cruel, okay? Dongbua Shuiying's face slightly changed. I'm afraid she will be the last. This Ji Rong has really captivated his brother. Dongbua Shuiying solemnly said, Qing Shi, the Dragon Mountain Manor's intelligence is very reliable. Those who dare to write it down must have enough confidence. Since she was young, she has always lived in the mage's building. How can I not know what kind of person she is? Qing Shi angrily said. Mages are all very intelligent people. Even if she is a young girl, don't ever look down on her. Dongbua Shuiying said. He had just been deceived by Kong Yuyu. I believe her. Qing Shi said. Enough. Dongbua Shuiying coldly said, the two of you must break up. However, I can give you 3 years. In these 3 years, the two of you must separate. I will ask Bai Yuanji to drive Ji Rong back home. In these 3 years, I will see the truth of the Ji clan. If Ji Rong is really a good girl, I will not stop the two of you from being together. However, if her true colors are exposed, you will understand my thoughts. Dongbua Shuiying also felt that with Dragon Mountain Manor's strength, since they suspected Ji Wuhai, 3 years was enough to find out the truth. Moreover, he did not want his brother to resist too much. If he completely cut off his brother's hope, with his feelings for Ji Rong, he would probably go crazy. 3 years? Qing Shi stared. 3 years? It's too long and you still want to drive her away. Brother, how can you be so heartless? To treat her like this? Moreover, you said that we must break up. This is between me and Ji Rong, how can we break up just because you say so? We must break up. Dongbua Shuiying did not expect his brother to be unable to endure 3 years. He could not tolerate his brother being together with a demon god's follower. If she really was a demon god's follower, then he would be pushing his brother into the abyss. Who knew what a demon god's follower would do? At that time, he would regret it. The two of you must break up. Dongbua Shuiying said coldly. No. Qing Shi was furious. No one can resist. You know, with just a word from me, Bai Yuanji will drive Ji Rong out and Ji clan will have to move out of Water Rights Town. Dongbua Shuiying said coldly, so even if you don't want to listen, you have to listen. This matter, you cannot be presumptuous. Qing Shi felt the blood rushing to his head. His eyes turned red and his heart beat extremely fast. His big brother indeed had the ability to forcefully destroy the relationship between him and Ji Rong. His strength was not enough to resist. His voice trembled as he looked at Dongbua Shuiying. His eyes made Dongbua Shuiying's heart tremble. His hoarse voice roared, Brother, you are my brother. Since I was young, I have always been proud of you. Although I can't remember my parents, I always thought that I had the best brother in the world. But I was wrong. I really did not expect you to be this kind of person. You really disappoint me. You really disappoint me. I never thought that my brother would be this kind of person. You are an egomaniac. You really disappoint me. The most important family member in his life, the family member that he was willing to use his life to protect, was saying these words to him. Dongbua Shuiying felt his heart twitching. Is my little brother disappointed in me? I really did not expect you to be this kind of person. My brother is this kind of person. Qing Shi's face was already full of tears. He turned around and dashed out. Zhong Ling was standing at the door. Apparently, Zhong Ling heard the quarrel between the two brothers and came over. Qing Shi's face was full of tears as he dashed past Zhong Ling. Dongbua Shuiying's heart was aching. His usually steady hands were trembling. The muscles in his palms were twitching uncontrollably. His heart really hurt. Really, since I was young, I have always been proud of you. But I was wrong. I really did not expect you to be this kind of person. My brother is this kind of person. His little brother's voice resounded in his ears. Dongbua Shuiying's breathing was getting erratic. At this moment, Zhongling walked over and asked, Snow Eagle, help me look after Qingshi. Remember, you must not allow him to leave the castle for the next 3 days. If he insists on leaving and you guys can't stop him, inform me. I'll go and stop him. Dongbua Shuiying said. Zhongling looked at Dongbua Shuiying's body. In the past, when Dongbua Shuiying stood there, he gave off the impression of a tall mountain or a spear. He was so steady, so terrifying. That was the aura of an expert. But at this moment, Dongbua Shuiying's back seemed to be bent. That unshakable aura was gone, and he seemed to have become weak. Snow Eagle. Zhongling looked at Dongbua Shuiying's face. Dongbua Shuiying's face was slightly pale, and there seemed to be tears in his eyes. I've heard everything just now. Don't be sad. Qingshi has never experienced any setbacks. When he grows up, he will understand your intentions. Zhongling consoled. You've treated him like a treasure since young. For the sake of finding a good teacher for him, you risked your life to go to the mountain range of desolation. In the future, he will understand how good you are to him. All right, don't be sad. I'm fine. Look after Qingshi. Dongbua Shuiying turned and left. On the roof of the castle, Dongbua Shuiying sat alone, drinking wine as he looked at the vast sky. His little brother was very sad. This was the first time his little brother was so sad. As for the hurtful words his little brother had said, Dongbua Shuiying was truly heartbroken. But now, he was only worried about his little brother. He will be fine after a while. Dongbua Shuiying said softly. He wiped his eyes which were slightly wet. I didn't expect that I would still cry after so many years. He continued to drink. The mountain breeze blew. Dongbua Shuiying didn't know what he was thinking about. He just sat there and drank his wine. Gradually, the sky turned dark and night fell. During dinner, Dongbua Shuiying went for dinner. He thought that he would have the chance to see his little brother. But, his little brother didn't come. After dinner, he went to the study room alone and started reading. As night fell, the crescent moon hung high in the sky. Faint moonlight shone on the ground. High up in the sky. Who? A black refiner flying ship had already arrived above Snow Rock Castle. Chapter 62. Inside the alchemy flying ship, one of the servants said respectfully, Master, we have arrived at Snow Rock Castle. Xiang Pangyun, who had been meditating with his eyes closed, opened his eyes. Wind Fiend and the other 3 also stood up. Big brother, we will head down now. Wind Fiend smiled. Xiang Pangyun nodded slightly. Wind Fiend and the other 3 quickly came out of the cabin and onto the deck. Among them, the white-haired sorcerer held a purple magic staff and started casting some spells. Rays of light flew out from the magic staff and landed on Wind Fiend and the other 2. Several buff spells were cast consecutively. Wind Fiend and the other 3's auras were completely isolated. An invisible barrier formed around the 3 of them. Even the light rays around them were distorted. Back then, Dongbua Shuiying and the others had infiltrated the Lu clan's castle. However, they were discovered the moment they arrived. Comparatively speaking, they were clearly not as proficient as these assassins. This was their profession. Let's go. Wind Fiend spoke. So. The 4 of them leaped off the flying ship at the same time and started descending. As they descended, they were surrounded by the power of spells, causing their speed of descent to be slower. After a while, they quietly descended a few hundred meters and landed on an empty space beside the main building of the castle. This was because these assassins knew very well that the main building of a castle was usually heavily guarded. There might even be some spells and formations. If they descended directly, they would be easily discovered. As for the empty space, one could tell that there were no formations on the surface. Third brother will stay here. The three of us will sneak in. Wind Fiend instructed, be careful. The moment you encounter a warning formation, the two of you retreat immediately. I will complete the mission. Don't worry, second brother. The two Silver Moon Knights nodded. They were very familiar with this. So. The three of them rapidly approached the main building. Their bodies were surrounded by spells. Ordinary people would not be able to see them clearly even if they were beside them in the dark. During the day, they would only be able to see blurry figures. Within the study room, Dongbua Shuang was currently reading a book. However, his heart was not calm. He was just casually flipping through the pages. Dongbua Shuang suddenly frowned. An expert who was one with the world. Even during normal times, his spirit force would naturally resonate with the outside world. Within a certain range, the slightest movement would be discovered. If one's spirit force intentionally merged into the world, they would be able to sense everything within a few miles. Even the metal refinement flying boat in the sky would be discovered. It was just that most people would not be able to unify their mental strength with the heavens and the earth at all times. This was because completely becoming one with the heavens and earth required the concentration of one's spirit power. Someone actually came. That noble's revenge came so quickly. A cold glint flashed across Dongbua Shuaying's eyes. Ever since his parents were taken away when he was young, no one had dared to invade the Snowrock Castle. That mysterious noble young master had just died, and now, someone was invading. Shuang did not believe that this had nothing to do with that noble young master's clan. Creak. Dongbua Shuang opened the door and walked out. Wind Devil quietly walked to the corridor of the main building of the castle. Suddenly, boom! A terrifying force enveloped hundreds of meters around the castle. Whether it was the Silvermoon Wizard waiting in the open space, the other two knights, or the Wind Demon, they all felt a chill run down their spines. All of them were completely suppressed by the power of the heavens and the earth. This feeling of being completely suppressed caused them to reveal a look of fear. The moment the Silvermoon Wizard was suppressed, they would not be able to use the power of the heavens and the earth. They would not even be able to cast a powerful spell. What the hell? That Dongbua Shuang is only 22 years old and he is already a legend ranker with the power of the heavens and the earth? The other two Silvermoon Knights were also frightened to the point that their legs went soft. Their strength was far weaker than a legend ranker and they were also suppressed by the power of the heavens and the earth. As long as Dongbua Shuang wanted to deal with them, the two of them would die in the blink of an eye. The two of them panicked and their legs went soft. Run, run. Let's hope that he does not come to deal with us. Instead, he goes to deal with Wind Devil. Wind Devil's strength is strong enough to hold him off. Furthermore, Big Brother will be here soon. Once Big Brother arrives, we will be able to preserve our lives. The two Silvermoon Knights quickly retreated. The three of them were panicking. Although Wind Devil was not afraid, he was still shocked. One with the world. How many years has it been since a 22-year-old legend ranker appeared in the entire Tranquil Sun province? Such a monstrous thing actually happened. Wind Devil was completely stunned by the power of the heavens and the earth. To be able to become a legend ranker at the age of 22, let alone in the Tranquil Sun province, even in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire, it was a monstrous thing. In fact, the Bloodshed Tavern only had their suspicions. The Dragon Mountain Manor had more information, but they did not witness the battle. They also suspected that the traces of battle in the Lu family's castle might be due to some other reason. Therefore, they only believed that the possibility of Dongbua Shuang being a legend ranker was 50%. Even if Dongbua Shuang really had the power of a legend ranker, they were more inclined to believe that Dongbua Shuang had obtained a powerful refiner armor. They did not dare to believe that a 22-year-old legend ranker would appear in a remote place like Waterrights Town. Relying on one's own strength to reach legend ranker was too difficult. One with the world. Very difficult. Primordial Bloodline Awakening. It was also extremely difficult. Even if it was the Dragon Mountain Empire's royal family, even if it was the most powerful transcendent, it was still too difficult to cultivate a 22-year-old legend rancor. I have been cultivating for so many years, but I still haven't reached one with the world. Only after my body has been transformed and Big Brother has given me an alchemy treasure, did I have the power of a legend rancor. Winged Devil was shocked, but this Dongbui Shuang can actually rely on his own strength to reach one with the world? There were a lot of people who relied on external forces to barely reach legend rancor. For example, Dongbui Shuang's enemy Mo Yang Chenbai and Winged Devil, they were all like this. However, Winged Devil was very ruthless towards himself. His body had been transformed by a master alchemist, and he had an alchemy treasure. In addition, he had been tempered between life and death for a long time. His strength was much stronger than Mo Yang Chenbai. There was not much difference between him and a real legend rancor. Under the pressure of the world, the air distorted. Under the illumination of the fire crystal lamp, a black-clothed youth appeared in the corridor. Winged Devil looked at the person in front of him. Under the distortion of the air, the other person's face was somewhat blurred. However, looking at the other person's age and rough appearance, Winged Devil knew that the other person was Dongbui Shuang. Who asked you to come? The black-clothed youth walked towards him. Run. Winged Devil did not want to make a move. Because he did not have the ability to kill a real legend rancor. Right now, as long as he could buy some time, his big brother would arrive. Seeing that the other party wanted to escape, the black-clothed youth faintly snorted. If you don't want to speak, then die. Shwa. A long spear appeared in the hands of the black-robed young man out of thin air. The long spear turned into a strange and astonishing arc. Under such an arc, even the shaft of the long spear appeared to curve. It could be seen that the power of the long spear was great and vigorous. So fast. Winged Devil was so scared that he quivered. He turned his head and waved the scimitar in his hands to block the attack. He did not have the confidence to block the attack, so he relied purely on his instinct to block the attack. Clang! The long spear's tip contained a frightening strength and rotational force. Winged Devil's hands were somewhat numb. He could not help but be forced to retreat. This caused Winged Devil to reveal a frightened expression. Yes. Although he had only achieved the state of one with the world for a short period of time, but during this time, he had been absorbing the energy of the world to strengthen himself. His Do Chi had been promoted to Silver Moon rank, and his physical strength and speed had increased by 50%. He also had the one with the world to suppress his opponent, and had also cultivated the second layer of the profound ice spear technique Blood Rain. Therefore, under normal circumstances, his battle strength was comparable to the last time when he fought against Sir Divine Envoy, when his power bloodline was activated. With this kind of strength, even the extraordinary Divine Envoy was killed after using a forbidden technique. How could this Winged Devil withstand it? Too strong, how could it be? Winged Devil's scimitar hurriedly blocked the second spear. The first spear, he had blocked it and was forced to retreat. The second spear, he was lucky enough to block it, but his arms were completely numb. The movement of his hands holding the scimitar was also distorted. The third spear, puff. As fast as lightning, the long spear passed through the scimitar that panicked but was obviously slow to block. It instantly pierced through Winged Devil's throat and then retracted. It was like a light kiss. Winged Devil clutched his throat, as if he wanted to stop the blood from flowing out. He wanted to preserve his life. He really did not expect that even if he met a legend rancor, he would still be killed so quickly. Dongbui Shuang looked at the masked assassin in front of him who was clutching his throat and slowly falling to the ground. To be able to barely block 2 spear attacks, it seems that he has the strength of a legend rancor. There are still 3 ants left. Dongbui Shuang was enveloped by the world energy. The other 3 assassins, every move was under his observation. He could kill them at any time. Chapter 63. Speak, who sent you here? Shui Ying's voice resounded in the ears of the three assassins. We don't know, we don't know. We accepted the Bloodshed Tavern's mission, we don't know who it is. The three assassins were terrified. Dongbui Shuang frowned. Bloodshed Tavern's mission? That noble young master's family actually issued a bounty for him. Since that was the case, it was impossible to find the person who issued the mission. Pooh! 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 3 rays of cold light flashed. Under the cover of the power of heaven and earth, the 3 assassins widened their eyes as a small hole appeared between their eyebrows. Since you've already killed your way to my house, you still want to escape? Dongbui Shuang glanced at the 3 corpses. He had thrown out 3 shuttle-shaped darts. When he was in the county capital, he had bought a batch of high-quality short spears. Similarly, he had also bought a bunch of suitable darts. After all, it was not worth it to use short spears to deal with weaker opponents. Dongbui Shuang had bought a huge box of these darts and placed them in his storage ring. On the alchemy flying ship in the night sky, Zhang Pangyun was looking down coldly. But suddenly, the power of heaven and earth surged from the castle below. With Xiang Pangyun's amazing eyesight, he could clearly see a black-robed young man walking towards Wind Demon. Following which, a long spear appeared in his hand and he instantly attacked. 3 consecutive spears as fast as lightning. Wind Demon was already dead. Xiang Pangyun's pupils constricted. Following which, he grinned and his blood-red eyes emitted an unprecedented radiance. One with the heavens. 22 years old, one with the heavens. And he killed Wind Demon in a single move. Good, this is really good. I didn't expect to come across such a rare plaything when I came out to try my luck. 22 years old, one with the heavens, and his strength is so strong. He has sufficient time to slowly find his own path. I'm afraid he has an 80 to 90% chance of becoming a transcendent. If Dragon Mountain Manor confirmed Dongbui Shuaying's strength, I'm afraid those transcendent organizations would immediately come to invite such a monster. Or has he joined some extraordinary organization? Xiang Pangyun thought to himself. He had lived for a very long time and naturally came into contact with many secrets. This world had transcendence. The armies of mortals were meaningless to transcendence. The transcendents were the true rulers of this world. And the 6 great transcendent organizations were formed by transcendents. The Empire? It had long decayed. The 6 major transcendent organizations were the true ruling powers of this world in the dark, and they had existed for a very long time. The Terrene Shrine and the Bloodshed Tavern were 2 of the more special organizations out of the 6 great extraordinary humans. It's a pity that you won't have the chance to become a transcendent in the future. Xiang Pangyun's eyes were filled with excitement. Wait for me here. Xiang Pangyun ordered. Yes, Master, the servants controlling the flying boat said respectfully. Who? Xiang Pangyun jumped down. Although it took a long time to describe, Xiang Pangyun had only thought for a short while from the moment he saw Wind Demon die. On the empty ground within the castle, Dongbui Shuang had just killed Wind Demon. He looked at Wind Demon's chest suspiciously. There was a strange bronze heart-protecting mirror there. The patterns on the heart-protecting mirror made him feel that it was extraordinary. This bronze heart-protecting mirror seems to be the best alchemy treasure I've ever seen. Dongbui Shuaying's expression changed as he raised his head to look at the sky. High up in the sky, a muscular man dressed in dark red robes with a face that looked like it was carved by a knife descended at high speed. His robes fluttered in the wind as a visible blood-red shockwave spread outwards with him as the center. The man was like a devil descending from the heavens. Dongbui Shuang immediately recognized him. An expert of this level had long been drawn into a picture. Xiang Pangyun. Humph. With a single thought, Dongbui Shuang activated the heaven and earth energy he controlled and clashed against the blood-red shockwave 100 meters up in the sky. Peng, the 2 surging forces collided head-on. Because Dongbui Shuaying's spirit force was one with heaven and earth, He could instantly sense the boundless killing intent contained within the blood-red shockwave at the instant of collision. Kill! 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 Countless shouts of killing rang out in his heart. Dongbua Shuang was slightly shocked by his opponent's methods. However, he was able to easily withstand the impact of the killing intent. How resolute was Dongbua Shuaying's will! Furthermore, after becoming one with heaven and earth, his spirit force had been nourished and had long become stronger. There was no way he could disregard this killing intent. However, ordinary Silver Moon experts or those weaker would be so frightened that their legs would turn soft and they would collapse to the ground when faced with such a materialized killing intent. He actually fused his killing intent with heaven and earth energy. Not only does his blood-red shockwave contain the impact of heaven and earth energy, it also contains the impact of his killing intent. Dongbua Shuang was shocked in his heart. Everyone says that this Xiang Pangyun is a madman and an extremely terrifying assassin. Just the intensity of his killing intent is already unfathomable. Snow Eagle, what's wrong? What happened? Many people in the castle were alarmed. After all, when Dongbua Shuang utilized heaven and earth energy, even the air would distort. Although this formless energy didn't harm his own people, it still alarmed many people. Also, when he fought against the Wind Devil, every time the spear and the curved blade clashed, the sound of collision would be extremely loud. Even the people in the castle were alarmed. There was no need to mention, the scene of Dongbua Shuaying's heaven and earth energy clashing with the blood-red shockwave was even more shocking. When the two forces of heaven and earth energy clashed, the sound produced was like thunder. Uncle Zong! Dongbua Shuang called out. As a meteor knight, Zong Ling was the fastest to arrive by Dongbua Shuaying's side. The bronze heart-protecting mirror on this fellow's corpse is a very unique refiner treasure. Dongbua Shuang said, Uncle Zong, you can take a look. It should be useful to you. The more powerful a legend ranker was, the less useful those refiner treasures would be. Zong Ling nodded his head. In the blink of an eye, he removed the bronze heart-protecting mirror. He continued to retrieve other storage treasures, weapons, armors, etc. But suddenly, bang! Xiang Pangyun, who had descended from a height of a few hundred meters, directly landed on the castle walls. Standing on the battlements of the castle walls, the blood-red shockwave surged outwards. Some of the soldiers on the castle walls were instantly pressured to the ground. Some of them even let out cries of fear. Some of the weaker soldiers were pressured to the point that their faces turned pale, and blood started to seep out of their mouths, noses, and ears. In fact, the heaven and earth energy only had a suppressive effect on Silver Moon Knights and Meteor Knights. But to some of the ordinary soldiers, it was enough to threaten their lives. In front of me, Xiang Pangyun, you still dare to resist? Xiang Pangyun looked down at Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang, you really have guts. Boom boom boom, the heaven and earth energy that Dongbua Shuang controlled was like a huge invisible cover, covering the entire area. It continuously clashed with the blood-red shockwave surrounding Xiang Pangyun. Xiang Pangyun. Zong Ling's expression changed. This terrifying demon. The legend ranker who had dominated the entire Azure River County for almost 100 years? Uncle Zong, help me take care of Qingshi. Dongbua Shuang immediately said. Under the control of the heaven and earth energy, he naturally saw Qingshi walking out of the room with a puzzled expression. All right. Zong Ling did not care about searching the corpse anymore. This matter could be dealt with slowly. He immediately leapt up and flew to the third floor of the castle's main building, arriving beside Dongbua Qingshi. What happened? What's going on? Qingshi was a little confused. Previously, he was hugging his quilt on the bed and had fallen asleep. His brother had never treated him like this for so many years. He hugged his quilt and cried, crying and crying, until he gradually fell asleep. The surging heaven and earth energy, the huge sounds of weapons clashing, and the collision of the heaven and earth energy of two legend rankers, as well as the miserable screams coming from outside, woke Dongbua Qingshi up and immediately came out. The moment he came out, he saw his brother, Dongbua Shuang, standing downstairs. Beside him was a corpse, and further away, there were 3 more corpses. At the same time, the surrounding scene was very strange. The air was distorted. The vast area on her brother's side was like an invisible barrier, while the crimson-robed demonic godlike man standing on the battlement of the city wall was emitting a blood-red wave of energy. The invisible barrier and the blood-red wave of energy collided. Just by looking at the blood-red chi wave with the naked eye, one could not help but feel fear. Qing Shi had not experienced many setbacks, so his face could not help but turn pale. "Uncle Zong, what's going on?" Qing Shi panicked. Zhong Ling came to his side. "It's Xiang Pang Yun." Zhong Ling said solemnly, "He's the most terrifying assassin in the entire Azure River County. He's even more terrifying than the Xi clan's ancestor, Xi Lianghong. Even some legend rankers can't even last a single move against him." "What?" Qing Shi was stunned. How powerful was a legend ranker? In front of this Xiang Pangyun, he would be killed in a single move. One must know that the reason why the Xi clan could cover the sky in Azure River County was because of the Xi clan's ancestor. But Xiang Pangyun was even stronger than the Xi clan's ancestor. "Dongbo Shuang, the reason why I'm here is because of the Bloodshed Tavern's mission. It's to take the life of your brother, Dongbo Qingshi." Xiang Pangyun, who was standing on top of the city wall, had a strange expression on his face. His voice resounded through the air, "I have no interest in killing you. Just obediently step aside. After I kill your brother, I'll turn around and leave. After all, the Bloodshed Tavern did not give me any bounty for killing you." Xiang Pangyun was doing this on purpose. This mission was actually accepted by Wind Demon. Even if Xiang Pangyun killed him, he would not be able to claim the bounty. He said this to tease Dongbo Shuang, toying with Dongbo Shuaying's state of mind. If this could shake Dongbo Shuaying's determination, that would be even better. As a madman who publicly exposed his identity as a killer, the reason why he killed people was not for the bounty. Killing people was a form of enjoyment for a madman like him. "Kill me." Bloodshed Tavern's mission. Qing Shi was stunned. This terrifying scene was actually to kill him. "Kill my brother?" Dongbo Shuang looked at Xiang Pangyun, who was standing on top of the city wall, and said coldly, "Unless I, Dongbo Shuang, am dead, no one can hurt my brother. Not even you, Xiang Pangyun." "Brother." Qing Shi, who was standing by the railing of the main building, felt his heart ache. He looked at his brother's blurry figure under the distortion of the air. It was as if he could see the tall figure that had always been in front of him since he was young, the figure that was like a mountain that would always protect him. "For your brother, you're willing to sacrifice your life. How touching. Since that's the case, then, you can die." Xiang Pangyun's face suddenly turned sinister and he shouted. Whoosh! A blood-red figure suddenly rushed out from the battlements of the city wall, and a piercingly cold saber light streaked across the sky. Just by looking at the snow-white saber light that streaked across the sky for dozens of meters, everyone else trembled in fear. "Brother!" Qing Shi, who was standing beside Zhong Ling, was so nervous that he trembled. Chapter 64. Xiang Pangyun's expression turned malevolent as the snow-white blade light sliced through the air and arrived in front of him. "Is that all you've got?" Shui Ying's spear suddenly pierced upwards. The spearhead was like a rising dragon as it collided head-on with the snow-white saber light that was furiously hacking downwards. Pang! The collision resulted in an explosion that could be seen by the naked eye spreading in all directions. However, under the protection of the world energy, it gradually weakened and disappeared. With this collision, both of Dongbo Shui Ying's legs sunk down to his knees. However, with just a slight movement of his legs, the soil and gravel were all sent flying. As for Xiang Pangyun, he borrowed the force of the collision to land on the ground. "You have some strength." Xiang Pangyun grinned. However, a blood-red dart suddenly appeared in his left hand. Xiao! The dart streaked across the sky and flew towards Dongba Qingshi, who was nervously watching from the top of the castle. Chi 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 chi, the dart was originally as fast as lightning, but Dongba Shuang was constantly maintaining the world energy to protect his little brother, Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong. Although there was a difference in the strength of legend rankers, Dongba Shuang and Xiang Pangyun could use the same world energy, and neither could suppress the other. If one was determined to protect an area, the other party would not be able to break through. Chi chi chi, the dart that left his hand was constantly obstructed by the world energy, causing its speed to decrease. Furthermore, the world energy was constantly pushing the dart from the side, causing the dart to change its trajectory. Dongba Shuang could clearly feel the trajectory of the dart bending. Pang! The dart hit the wall of the castle far away. It was at least 3 meters away from Dongba Qingshi and Zhongling. Everyone says that the #1 expert of our Azure River County is you, Xiang Pangyun. Who would have thought that you would use my brother to influence me in a duel? Dongba Shuang sneered. I really look down on you. TSK, TSK, TSK. You are still so arrogant. I will let you die convinced. Xiang Pangyun attacked again at lightning speed. The saber was extremely fast. However, Dongba Shuaying's marksmanship was also extremely fast. Clang clang clang. The two of them instantly turned into phantoms and exchanged blows. Their footwork was unpredictable, and Xiang Pangyun kept attacking and attacking. He kept moving forward, wanting to get closer to Dongba Shuang. Retreat, retreat, retreat. Dongba Shuang kept retreating. As the saying goes, an inch longer is an inch stronger. When using a long weapon like a spear, it was necessary to maintain a sufficient distance from the opponent as much as possible. Only then could the advantage of the spear be fully displayed. If they were to fight in close combat, it was obvious that Xiang Pangyun, who used a saber, would have a huge advantage. Xiang Pangyun kept advancing, wanting to get closer to Dongba Shuang. Dongba Shuang kept retreating to maintain the distance between them. So. How fast were the two of them? One of them kept advancing, while the other kept retreating. After a few simple exchanges, they even exchanged blows on top of the castle walls. After which, they left the castle walls and went outside the castle walls. Quick, quick, quick. Let's follow them and watch. Qingshi was somewhat anxious. We can't go. Tong San, who was by the side, hurriedly said. Qingshi, we will stay here and watch. Zhongling said. The terrain here is high enough. We can barely see the battle from afar. Furthermore, if something goes wrong, we can enter the main building of the castle and escape through the tunnel. If we get too close to the battlefield, at the level of your brother and Xiang Pangyun, I'm afraid we might accidentally injure and kill some Silver Moon rankers. N. Qingshi clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles turned white. At this moment, he suddenly hated himself. Why didn't he train hard in the past? Now, he couldn't help at all. Previously, his brother told him to train hard so that he could save his parents in the future. Although he gritted his teeth and worked hard for a short period of time, he soon lost his willpower. To be honest, parents represented a very special meaning. He also knew that parents were very important, but he really didn't have any impression of them. He simply couldn't persevere any longer and soon became lazy. But at this moment, he felt an unprecedented nervousness because this time, the one in danger was his brother. My brother is very powerful. He can definitely win. He definitely can. Qingshi stood in front of the railing and looked at the two figures moving at high speed outside the castle walls. He couldn't see the two figures clearly. He only felt that they were a series of afterimages. Bang! 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 Sometimes it was a low clashing sound, sometimes it was a clear clashing sound. Both sides were using different strength, defending or attacking. Even the sound of weapons clashing was different. At the same time, both sides controlled the heaven and earth energy. One was a formless air shield, while the other was a blood-red air wave. Dongbui Shuang retreated a few steps. His eyes were solemn. "Ah, we're already out of your castle?" The corners of Zhang Pangyun's mouth curled into a smile as he looked at Snowrock Castle a mile away. "TSK, TSK, TSK. You're really strong. You kept retreating while fighting with me, you actually lured me out of the castle. Are you afraid that our fight will hurt your subordinates? Your friends and relatives? Your subordinates are dead. Aren't you sad or angry at all?" Dongbui Shuang suddenly asked. He didn't feel any pain or anger from Xiang Pangyun regarding the death of Wind Demon and the other 3 assassins. Angry? What's there to be angry about? If you choose to be an assassin, you should be prepared to die. Furthermore, what does their death have to do with me? Xiang Pangyun said casually. If I didn't follow them, wouldn't the 4 of them still be dead? If I followed them, I could even avenge them. The 4 of them should be grateful to me, their big brother. Huh? Avenge? You're quite confident. Dongbui Shuang sneered. From the short exchange just now, Dongbui Shuang judged that Xiang Pangyun only had a slight advantage in terms of strength. Even if this Xiang Pangyun had some powerful techniques, he hadn't even activated his power bloodline yet. According to the description of some experts on the Dragon Mountain leaderboard, Dongbui Shuang felt that he could barely make it into the leaderboard before attaining one with the heaven. It shouldn't be a problem for him to be ranked in the top 2 or 3,000. Now that he had attained one with the heaven, his body was absorbing the heaven and earth energy every day. His overall strength had increased. He had also mastered the Blood Rain Spear art. He should be able to enter the top 1,000. The gap between him and Si Lianghong and Xiang Pangyun was very small. Winning might be very difficult. But if the opponent wanted to kill him, the chances of that happening should be low. Of course, these were all deductions from external information. To determine life and death, it would still depend on the actual battle. The confidence you show in front of me is not ordinary. Xiang Pangyun sneered, "That's right. Being able to attain one with the heaven at 22 years old. Furthermore, you're a spear grandmaster with power as one. TSK, TSK, TSK. You've attained power as one so quickly. Are you an innate one with the heaven or an innate power as one? What do you think?" Dongbui Shuang asked. The realm of a grandmaster with power as one was very difficult to achieve. Just like that Lord God envoy, he had already attained one with the heaven long ago. However, he had never been able to attain power as one. One with the heaven was the tempering of one's spirit. Power as one was the pinnacle of one's skills. There were many legend rankers who had first grasped the realm of one with the heaven. Only after their spirit energy had grown stronger would they be able to sense their body more clearly. Only then would they be able to attain power as one. However, Dongbui Shuang was different. Dongbui Shuang did not walk on the path of tempering himself between life and death. What he walked on was purely an extremely solid foundation. He constantly perfected himself. With a terrifying solid foundation and astonishing perception, it allowed him to forcefully reach the realm of power as one. At the very least, his spear techniques had already reached a pinnacle. Although one's techniques were superb, it did not mean that one's combat experience was plentiful. Thus, when Dongbui Shuang entered the mountain range of desolation for the first time, his hands and feet were bound at the start. However, very quickly, he no longer panicked. Nearing the Tao, the pinnacle of one's techniques. Beyond that, would be an even higher level. At that level, one's spear techniques, blade techniques, etc. would be even more extraordinary. Normally, only transcendence would be able to reach that level. If you can attain power as one before attaining power as one, then you will be even more monstrous. Xiang Pangyun's blood-red eyes flashed coldly. However, no matter how monstrous you are, it will be useless. Because tonight, you will die without a doubt. Who? As soon as he finished speaking, Xiang Pangyun brought along a blood-red wave of qi and charged towards him once again. Dongbua Shuang also instantly shot out his spear. Like a venomous snake coming out of its hole, he shot out 3 consecutive spear strikes towards Xiang Pangyun's face, heart and throat. At this time, at the Great Mage's building located at the peak of Snowrock Mountain, a large group of people, including Great Mage Bai Yuanji and Kong Yuyu, had all come out. Actually, the commotion within Snowrock Castle had already caused the people in the Great Mage's building to be surprised. Following the battle between Dongbua Shuang and Xiang Pangyun, the commotion became even bigger. Everyone in the Great Mage's building turned to look at them. Chapter 65. Yu Yu walked out of the Great Mage's building with a heart full of doubts. There was already a large group of people outside the Great Mage's building. 2 legend rankers are fighting. 2 legend rankers. The group of young mages were very excited. Kong Yuyu also looked into the distance. Under the illumination of the moonlight, there was a huge blood-colored qi wave colliding with the distorted colorless qi cover. The scene in the distance was somewhat distorted. The collision of the world energy had a range of 200 to 300 meters. Boom boom boom, it was as if thunder was roaring. This kind of power made Yu Yu's heart tremble. As a mage, she was very knowledgeable. With one look, she could tell that this was a legend ranker using the world energy. Legend ranker? Yu Yu stared at the 2 fighting figures in disbelief. They are actually 2 legend rankers. Such existences should be standing at the top of the Azure River County. Why are they fighting at the top of Snowrock Mountain? Could it be that they are just passing by? Although the 2 terrifying rankers were extremely fast, they would stop abruptly during their fight. Some were even pushed back by the shockwave. Thus, Yu Yu was able to clearly see their appearances. She did not know who Xiang Pangyun was. But on the other side, there was a black-clothed youth holding a silver-gray spear. Snowflakes were floating around him. She was too familiar with this person. Dongbua Shuang. Yu Yu's eyes widened. He is a legend ranker. How is this possible? He is only 22 years old. When she was young, her father, Kong Hai, a shrewd businessman, had asked her to find a way to marry Dongbua Shuang. In fact, Yu Yu had always been sullen. Because her father did not value her, he thought that a girl would eventually have to get married. In fact, she was even unwilling to hire a good mage as a teacher. It was because she wanted to get closer to Dongbua Shuang that she was sent to Bai Yuanji as a teacher. After becoming a mage, Yu Yu was very hardworking. At the same time, her horizons were gradually broadened. She knew more and knew that the world was very big. What was Dongbua Shuang, who was a tyrant in the remote water rights town, compared to the whole world? But before a good opportunity appeared, she had to endure. After all, Dongbua Shuang was a good spare tire. Finally, the proud son of heaven of the Sea Clan, Sea Chen, had arrived. The Sea Clan was a clan that could cover the sky with one hand in Azure River County. Even in the entire Tranquil Sun province, they had quite a high status. If he could enter such a family, then he might have the opportunity to reach a higher position in the future. In her opinion, Dongbua Shuang wasn't even worth mentioning in front of the Sea family. Sea Chen was a stairway for her to reach higher heights. When Dongbua Shuang discovered her true colors, she didn't care at all. He was just a martial arts fanatic from a small place. What was the big deal? Kong Yuyu looked at the 2 figures who were fighting like gods and demons. Some of the rocks in the distance collapsed, and some of the rocks rolled down the mountain. One of the figures was someone that she was extremely familiar with in the past. All of you, hurry up and hide. Great Mage Bai Yuanji's beard trembled as he roared, quick, that saber wielder is Xiang Pangyun. It was Xiang Pangyun. Why are you still standing here like idiots? Do you want to die? Once the shockwave reaches you, you will lose your life in an instant. Xiang Pangyun. The #1 expert of the Azure River County, Xiang Pangyun. The Xiang Pangyun who is even more powerful than the Sea Clan's ancestor. These mage disciples all cried out in surprise. Their own teacher had already commented on some of the powerful figures of the Azure River County during his lectures. Among them, he emphasized on Xiang Pangyun and Si Lianghong. These two were the two skies of the entire Azure River County. Any one of them could easily kill a legend ranker. Their strength was unimaginable. "Hurry up and get inside!" Bai Yuanji roared. The other disciples all walked towards the great mage's building. Bai Yuanji waved his hand. Rumble, a huge black statue beside the great mage's building, suddenly moved. This was a refiner organism that looked like a centipede. The edges of its black, flat, and wriggling body were covered with a flexible membrane. "Brother Si Chen, it's very dangerous now. The great mage's building isn't absolutely safe. It's better for us to sit on this black moon centipede and fly to the sky first. In the sky, we won't have to worry about being affected," Bai Yuanji said. "Thank you, Brother Bai." Si Chen was quite handsome. At the same time, he said, "If it's possible, bring Yu Yu along." N. Bai Yuanji glanced at Yu Yu and Ji Rong, then ordered, "Yu Yu, Ji Rong, the two of you come as well. We'll go to Snowrock Castle later and bring Qingshi along as well." Bai Yuanji had his own considerations. When he saw the earth-shattering battle between Xiang Pangyun and Dongbu Shuang, he was similarly stunned. Heavens, Dongbu Shuang was actually able to fight against the infamous Xiang Pangyun? Although he felt that the chances of Dongbu Shuang winning this battle were low, who knew if he could win? Or if he could save his life? Such a strong person, he must be on good terms with. From his point of view, Yu Yu and Dongbu Shuang were very close. Ji Rong and Qingshi were even closer. It would be better to bring these two girls along. "Yes, teacher." Yu Yu and Ji Rong obediently complied. Bai Yuanji's other direct disciple had already left his tutelage. Who? Under Bai Yuanji's control, the Black Moon Centipede instantly flew up into the sky. Bai Yuanji, Si Chen, Yu Yu, and Ji Rong were sitting on it. The Black Moon Centipede flew up to a height of a few hundred meters and simultaneously flew towards Snowrock Castle. Xiang Pangyun actually appeared here. Si Chen looked down at the battle between the two experts and was still trembling, that Dongbu Shuang is actually fighting on par with him. How is this possible? This Xiang Pangyun and my family's ancestor are on the same level. According to what I know, when Xiang Pangyun was an assassin, he had killed a few legend rankers. Normally, he would kill them in one move. Why would he fight for such a long time? Brother Si Chen, your experience is still too little. Bai Yuanji commented, "Look at the commotion caused by the battle between the two of them. Look at the scene of the surrounding rocks collapsing. According to my calculations, the shockwave produced by their battle has already far exceeded that of a normal legend ranker." N. Si Chen nodded slightly. Xiang Pangyun could dominate Azure River County for so long. He definitely has some powerful methods. Bai Yuanji said, "In this battle, Dongbu Shuang is in danger. Of course, to be able to fight with Xiang Pangyun to this extent, he is already very amazing. He is only 22 years old. This is really unimaginable and inconceivable. If we give him another 5 or 6 years, I'm afraid that his strength will surpass Xiang Pangyun and Si Lianghong, becoming the strongest in our Azure River County." Si Chen did not want to believe it, but the truth was right in front of him. He is indeed amazing. Si Chen praised, "Truly amazing. To be so powerful at 22 years old, even in our Dragon Mountain Empire, he might even have a chance to become a transcendent." The two of them were amazed. Yu Yu and Ji Rong were shocked. Ji Rong's face turned pale. She knew that her thoughts were wrong. In this Snowrock Castle, all wealth was just an illusion. The most terrifying and powerful person was Dongbu Shuang. Yu Yu was also shocked. The one fighting with Dongbu Shuang was actually Xiang Pangyun. Yu Yu was stunned. Xiang Pangyun, the strongest in Azure River County? Dongbua Shuang could fight with him to this extent? He was only 22 years old. In the future, he might even become a transcendent. Yu Yu felt her heart was empty. She was anxious and powerless. A chance to reach the heavens in a single bound had been right in front of her, but she had missed it. Why couldn't she endure it? Wouldn't she have been able to see this battle if she had waited for a while longer? Why did she decide to abandon him at that time? Why did she say those words to her brother? She finally understood why Dongbua Shuang could hear her conversation. As a legend ranker who was one with the world, how could she hide her actions? Phew! Yu Yu slowly exhaled a breath of air, feeling a sense of loss. If she had followed Dongbua Shuang wholeheartedly, she might have been able to climb to the top of the Dragon Mountain Empire. That was a level that she could not even imagine. She suddenly realized. She might have missed the most important opportunity in her life. It was too difficult to encounter such an opportunity again in this lifetime. Not good, Xiang Pangyun is going all out. Bai Yuanji suddenly exclaimed. Peng, peng, peng. The intensity of the battle below suddenly rose to another level. Whether it was the Black Moon centipede in the sky or the people in Snowrock Castle, everyone's heart was in their throats. Everyone could see the intensity of the battle increase. Dongbua Shuang was bombarded into the mountain rocks. The mountain trembled and a huge crack appeared. Dongbua Shuang hurriedly dodged. A biting cold blade descended from the sky. Pang! Dongbua Shuang staggered backwards from the impact. Ha ha ha! Dongbua Shuang, I was just playing with you just now. A plaything like you, I'm afraid it's hard for me to meet even once or twice in my life. But now, I'm done playing. It's time for you to die. Xiang Pangyun's laughter resounded through the sky. His strength and speed had all increased by a huge amount, completely suppressing Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang tried his best to use his spear to block, but he was beaten into a sorry state. Rumble, a huge cliff broke apart and rolled down the mountain. Fighting with an expert like you, I've benefited a lot. I wanted to continue fighting for a while longer. It's a pity that you don't want to play anymore. Dongbua Shuang tumbled backwards and landed on a huge rock. There was no trace of panic in his eyes, only excitement. Then let's fight to the death. A faint blood-red aura appeared on the surface of Dongbua Shuang's body, and his life force suddenly increased. Power Bloodline, activate. Take this. Boom, a frightening shadow of a spear, carrying with it a might that could sweep through the heavens and earth, swept over a distance of over 100 meters, and suddenly lashed out. Xiang Pangyun fiercely slashed out with his saber. Accompanied by a loud boom, Xiang Pangyun's eyes widened in shock, and he could not help but take 6 steps back. Each step caused the ground on the mountain peak to tremble, and then his body crashed into a large tree behind him. Hong, the tree directly exploded. Xiang Pangyun could not believe that he was actually at a disadvantage. What? In the night sky, Great Wizard Bai Yuanji and the rest who were on the Black Moon centipede widened their eyes in disbelief. Great! Qing Shi, Zhong Ling, Tong San and the rest who were watching nervously from the Snowrock Castle all became excited. Chapter 66. Who? When the spear collided with Xiang Pangyun's saber, Dongbua Shuang exerted strength in both his arms, causing the spear to twist, forming a shocking arc. It was as if a flood dragon had emerged from the water and continued to stab towards Xiang Pangyun. Dang! Xiang Pangyun did not dare to face the spear head-on. He held the saber with both hands and defended while retreating. How did his strength increase so much in such a short period of time? This increase in strength is simply too much. Xiang Pangyun did not dare to believe it. Usually, the more powerful Do Qi techniques have some desperate methods, allowing the user to unleash more Do Qi in an instant, increasing the power. But normally, the increase in strength would not be so exaggerated. His strength had doubled. This was simply too shocking. It was like two ordinary soldiers. One had the strength of 50 jin, the other 200 jin. One could easily beat the other. And when one's strength increased, one had the strength of 50,000 jin, the other had the strength of 100,000 jin. Actually, the difference in strength was even more obvious during combat, because one side had the strength of 50,000 jin more than the other. In terms of techniques, the weaker side would lose his life in 2 or 3 moves. Die! Dongbua Shuang advanced rapidly, his spear was like a dragon, attacking continuously. Pooh! In an instant, the spear tore through the air and stabbed toward Xiang Pangyun's face. Xiang Pangyun frantically dodged, using his saber to block. Block! The stab immediately turned into a collapsing force, the spearhead directly causing Xiang Pangyun to fly up and crash into a nearby mountain rock. The mountain rock immediately cracked and turned into countless rocks. Die, die, die. Each of Dongbua Shuiying's spear was faster than the previous, each strike aimed to take a life. After gaining the upper hand in strength, Dongbua Shuiying's continuous attacks brought about a suffocating sense of threat, as though he could lose his life at any moment. On the other side, the Black Moon Centipede rapidly landed on Snowrock Castle. Bai Yuanji said, "Brother Zhongling, Brother Tong, and Qingshi, quickly come up. We'll fly high up in the sky. That way, Sir Lord can fight Xiang Pangyun with a peace of mind. If you guys stay here, Zhang Pangyun might not be able to win and kill you guys to threaten the Lord." "Thank you, Great Mage," Zhongling said. At the same time, he said, "Tong San, Qingshi, let's hurry up." The Black Moon Centipede was a relatively large alchemy organism. Its body was rather long, and it could still support 7 people on its back. If they squeezed a little, even 10 people would be able to sit on it. Zhongling, Tong San and Qingshi quickly went up and sat down. "Who?" The Black Moon Centipede quickly slithered towards the sky. "Qingshi." Ji Rong whispered. Qingshi, who was on Ji Rong's back, glanced at her. His mood at this moment was completely different from how it was during the day. He had always been carefree. Because of his girlfriend and his brother's overbearing behavior, he willfully said some words that hurt his brother's heart. But now that she had seen that battle, especially when she saw that her brother was in danger and could lose his life at any moment. Moreover, this battle was because of the trouble he caused. This made him no longer have any temper towards his brother. There was only nervousness and worry. At the same time, after losing some of his anger towards his brother, he could naturally stand on a more impartial point of view and recall what he had said to his brother during the day. At that time, I thought that it was only one side of the story, and that most of it was just conjecture. But in reality, Ji Rong's words were also one side of the story. In comparison, brother's words were backed by Dragon Mountain Manor's intelligence. Dragon Mountain Manor monitors the world, and their intelligence is more trustworthy. Qingshi thought to himself. Young people in love would always be hot-headed, especially when it was their first love. He was also 16 years old, the age where it was easiest for him to lose his hair. But in the face of his brother's life, he calmed down. Although he was simple, he was not stupid. On the contrary, he was very smart. If Dragon Mountain Manor's intelligence is completely correct, Ji Rong's father and mother are extremely hypocritical and vicious people. Ji Rong is also very vicious. This kind of family, are all like this? Qingshi felt a chill run down his spine. Not good. Just as the Black Moon Centipede flew into the sky, before Qingshi and Ji Rong could speak, Great Master Bai Yuanji's expression changed. Qingshi, Zhongling and Tong San all looked down. The situation had indeed changed again. Originally, Xiang Pangyun, who was wearing a dark red robe, had a layer of blood red flowing light on the surface of his body, making his whole body look like a blood red figure. That blood red flowing light was his protective Do Qi. But now, the layer of Do Qi had completely disappeared, and at the same time, his aura had clearly become stronger. Even though they were high up in the sky, they could not help but feel fear. I have not used my full strength for 30 years. Even that old fellow Si Liang Hong was not willing to fight a real battle with me. Dongbui Shuang, you forced me to use my full strength. Even if I die, you should be satisfied. Xiang Pangyun's ruthless aura was monstrous. In the past, his faint blood-red eyes had now become completely blood-red. The Do Qi within his body was rapidly being consumed. Even his protective Do Qi had been withdrawn into his body to maintain this consumption. The consumption rate had skyrocketed. Naturally, his strength had also skyrocketed. A true top-notch Do Qi technique would usually have a desperate move. In the end, Dongbui Shuang had only learned a very weak middle-grade Do Qi technique 3-stage flame technique. He did not have such a desperate move. In fact, even if he did, it would be useless. With just a silver moon-ranked Do Qi, it would be useless against him. After all, Dongbui Shuang's body was much stronger than Do Qi. Boom! Both sides clashed. Dongbui Shuang was bombarded again and again as he retreated and dodged again and again. Not good. Dongbui Shuang's expression changed. Is this Xiang Pangyun's true strength? My current strength is still far from the top 500 rankers of the Dragon Mountain Roll. He had already activated his power bloodline and was going all out. Hua! A white ray of light flashed past. Dongbui Shuang dodged at lightning speed. When the tip of his spear clashed with the white ray of light, the white ray of light changed its direction slightly and swept across the surroundings. The surrounding rocks and trees were all neatly sliced apart. Such a fast blade. Dongbui Shuang dodged with all his might. Xiang Pangyun had already reached power as one. His weapon was not any weaker than Dongbui Shuang's. His blade technique was also extremely powerful, not any weaker than the Black Ice Spear technique. Furthermore, his experience was much richer than Dongbui Shuang's. After gaining the upper hand, Dongbui Shuang immediately felt a sense of crisis. Every time he blocked, he felt that it was very strenuous. In the sky, Qing Shi, Zhong Ling, Bai Yuanji and the others who were on the Black Moon Centipede became nervous. Yu Yu and Ji Rong also had complicated feelings as they looked down anxiously. Is he going to die? Although Ji Rong was nervous, she was also looking forward to it. Dongbui Shuang. Yu Yu was in a dilemma. If Dongbui Shuang died in battle, it would be a wise decision for her to give up on Dongbui Shuang. But on the other hand, she did not have much resentment towards Dongbui Shuang. They had been together for a long time. At the very least, she was very familiar with him. If he died in battle, she would feel bad. Brother. Qing Shi was extremely nervous. Zhong Ling and Tong San were the same. The three of them were the most nervous ones. Dongbui Shuang was their closest kin. Zhong Ling and Tong San had watched Dongbui Shuang grow up. They treated him like their own child. How could they not be nervous and worried? But the three of them had no other choice but to watch. So. Dongbui Shuang moved like lightning. After he unleashed his power, his speed was extremely fast. His spear technique turned into a mirage as he blocked every attack. He had pushed himself to the limit. Xiang Pangyun's speed was even faster. His blade technique was even more ferocious. The peak of Snowrock Mountain was in a mess. Some of the trees and rocks had been smashed into pieces. We can't go on like this. Dongbui Shuang's forehead was full of sweat. It's too tiring. If we continue to fight like this, we might lose our lives. Run. While Dongbui Shuang was fighting, he had been paying attention to his brother. When Great Mage Bai Yuanji brought his brother, Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong to the sky on the Black Moon Centipede, Dongbui Shuang was no longer worried. What he needed to do now was to protect his own life. So, Dongbui Shuang clashed with his weapon again. In an instant, he used the force to run 200 to 300 meters away. He had escaped. Escape? Do you think you can escape? Xiang Pangyun laughed sinisterly. In a flash, he chased after Dongbui Shuang. Chapter 67. Dongbua Shuang ran with all his might, leaving behind a blurry afterimage. The world energy around him surged, blocking the blood-red chi wave behind him. Xiang Pangyun chased after him with a ferocious expression. The distance between the two of them continued to shrink. Although he could not see what was happening behind him, the world energy could sense that Xiang Pangyun was getting closer. His speed is faster than mine. Dongbua Shuaying's speed was too fast. In just a few breaths, he had already reached the edge of a cliff on Snowrock Mountain. So, exerting strength from both his legs, he stomped on the ground. Shuang leapt off from the edge of the cliff and flew across the sky towards another mountain on the opposite side of the mountain. Humph! Xiang Pangyun also leapt out from the mountain and continued chasing after Dongbua Shuang. At their level, with the world energy acting as a buffer, they would be fine no matter how high they jumped from. Most importantly, with the help of the world energy, they would have the strength of 1,000 jin. As long as their body weight did not exceed 1,000 jin, they would be able to fly slowly. However, this kind of flying was too slow. One had to know that a meteor-rank flying beast would have the strength of tens of thousands of jin with a single flap of its wings. With the addition of its body structure, it would be able to reach the speed of sound. For legend rankers like Dongbua Shuang, with just the help of the world energy, their flying speed was too slow. Regardless of whether it was flying boats, flying gold-smelted artifacts or flying beasts, they would be able to leave them far behind. Even ordinary birds might be able to fly faster than them. Furthermore, it was not easy to borrow strength from the air. Strength came from the roots, and the feet were the roots. For example, when a spear thrust or a blade slashed, the strength would be transmitted from the feet. When in the air, one would not be able to exert strength from the feet. After all, the world energy could only support the strength of 1,000 jin. How could a legend ranker exert strength from the feet? The world energy would not be able to support them, and they would not be able to display their full strength in the air. Thus, they rarely fought in the air. Pang! With the help of the heaven and earth energy, Dongbua Shuang crossed 300 meters in a single leap and landed on the other side of the mountain. The ground beneath his feet shook violently, and he continued to flee at high speed without any hesitation. Pang! Xiang Pangyun also landed halfway up the mountain and chased after it crazily. Run, run, run! The two of them accelerated to the limit. Mountains and rivers were like flat ground to them. In fact, as they were fleeing, Dongbua Shuaying's spear swept past some of the boulders beside him, sending them flying towards Xiang Pangyun. However, Xiang Pangyun's body flashed as he stepped on the boulder and continued his pursuit. He would not be so foolish as to split the boulder apart, as that would be a waste of time. The distance between them continued to shorten. In just a few breaths' time, he had crossed 3 mountains. Just as he leaped over the 4th mountain, Xiang Pangyun caught up with him. The two of them clashed again in midair. Chi, Dongbua Shuang turned around to face Xiang Pangyun. In midair, Xiang Pangyun charged forward with his saber, turning into a white ray of light. Dongbua Shuang tried to block it with his spear, but Xiang Pangyun changed his saber technique, not giving Dongbua Shuang the chance to do so. Both of them were very smart. The moment they clashed head-on, Xiang Pangyun would suffer from the recoil, and his speed would be greatly reduced. On the other hand, Dongbua Shuang would be able to make use of the recoil to increase his speed. Trying to kill me without clashing head-on? Dongbua Shuang laughed coldly. The spear in his hand turned into an arc, and the tip of the spear was like a whirlpool, spinning continuously. At the same time, it turned into a lightning-fast attack. Snowflakes were floating around the spear, and Xiang Pangyun was unable to get his way. Wanting to break through Dongbua Shuaying's spear technique without relying on strength and speed? That was too difficult. After all, the gap between them was not that big yet. In midair, both of them exchanged over 10 moves. Dong! Dongbua Shuang landed on the side of a mountain. The moment he landed, he immediately changed his direction and dashed to the side. Xiang Pangyun, who had just landed, had no choice but to chase after him. Damn it! If I don't use my strength to suppress him head-on, it will be hard for me to kill him. Xiang Pangyun nodded his head. It's better to suppress him head-on. Even if he uses the momentum to escape, I still have a chance to kill him every time I exchange blows with him. After changing his strategy, everything was different. Boom! On a rocky beach, there was a surging azure river that was thousands of meters wide. Dongbui Shuang and Xiang Pangyun exchanged blows once again. Dongbui Shuang did not dare to turn his back to Xiang Pangyun, and he had to face him head-on. In an instant, both of them exchanged over 10 moves. Dongbui Shuang had been looking for an opportunity. Fighting head-on was not always possible. For example, if his opponent slashed downwards, he would not be able to use the momentum. Could he use the momentum to dig into the ground? Xiang Pangyun tried to suppress Dongbui Shuang head-on, but he did not want to give Dongbui Shuang a chance to escape. However, the more they exchanged blows, the more opportunities there would be. After all, in a life-and-death battle, many moves were based on instinct, and there was no room to be picky. Run! Dongbui Shuang found an opportunity again. Using the momentum from the collision, he ran 200 to 300 meters away, and ran on the surface of the river. Damn it, he escaped again. Xiang Pangyun's blood-red eyes were filled with madness. Every time you exchange blows with me, you are always hovering on the edge of life and death. Let's see how long you can last. Both of them, one in front and one behind, chased each other crazily on the surface of the river. In the night sky, the Black Moon Centipede was desperately flying, and on top of it, there was a faint light screen. Inside the light screen were Bai Yuanji, Qing Shi, Zhong Ling, Tong San, Kong Yuyu, Si Chen, and Ji Rong. They were nervously watching the shocking chase below, watching the two of them running on the surface of the river as if they were walking on the surface of the river. Both parties in the pursuit battle had erupted with strength that made them tremble. Xiang Pangyun had already been forced to use his Do Chi secret technique. Dongbui Shuang had also activated his power bloodline long ago. Logically speaking, Xiang Pangyun and Dongbui Shuang would consume a lot of energy under such a situation. Fortunately, both of them were one with the world, and constantly had the energy of heaven and earth flowing into their bodies to replenish their energy. Thus, they could last longer in a battle. If they did not use their bloodline, they could fight for days and nights without running out of energy. Too fast, their speed is too fast. Bai Yuanji, Si Chen, and the rest were shocked. They are still fighting while chasing. Si Chen exclaimed, there are even mountains, rivers, and forests on the way. But we have been chasing in a straight line in the sky, and it is still so difficult to track them. This Black Moon Centipede speed is probably at half the speed of sound. Close to half. There are a lot of people up there this time. Normally, it would be more than half. Bai Yuanji nodded. Close to half the speed of sound, flying in a straight line in the sky was already very difficult. One could imagine how fast the two of them were. Is this his strength? Yu looked at the two figures that were chasing each other. She couldn't help but hold her breath. In the past, she had always thought that Dongbui Shuang was a martial arts fanatic. But now, she felt how wrong she was. This kind of strength was enough to make mortals despair. Mortals, even an army of 100,000 or 1,000,000, would be a joke in front of this kind of strength. Although they are not transcendents, they are close to it. Bai Yuanji said, I heard that those who are ranked at the top of the Dragon Mountain book even have the strength to kill some weak transcendents. Xiang Pangyun is ranked 500, so his strength should be close to transcendence. Close to transcendence? The rest of them looked at the two of them and were shocked. Brother. Qing Shi clenched his fists tightly as he looked down. He was proud to have such a big brother, but he was also incomparably nervous and worried. He even felt guilty because this battle was caused by him. Even though Shuang never blamed him, and even felt that it was normal for his little brother to retaliate in self-defense under such circumstances, Qing Shi felt that it was normal. But Qing Shi still felt guilty and blamed himself, especially because he had just quarreled with his brother during the day. Brother, you will definitely survive. Definitely. Qingshi had never been so nervous and worried since he was young. If his brother really died, he wouldn't know what to do. He didn't even dare to think about the result. Dongbo Shuang was frantically escaping. Hoo, the wind was whistling in his ears, and the surroundings were moving backwards at high speed. Only Xiang Pangyun was getting closer. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had already fought 9 times. They had already escaped 100 miles away. Almost there. Dongbo Shuang looked at the towering mountain in front of him. The only chance for me, Dongbo Shuang, to survive is here. Chapter 68. Dongbo Shuang soon arrived at the foot of the mountain and started to rush up. So, his body turned into a shadow as he flew up the mountain. In the blink of an eye, he had reached a height of 200 to 300 meters. Xiang Pangyun did not hesitate to chase after him. The two of them, one in front and one behind, approached the peak of the mountain. This seemingly majestic mountain was like a flat ground to Dongbo Shuang and Xiang Pangyun. Rushing up the mountain again. Xiang Pangyun had already climbed over several mountains. At first, he did not think much of it. But as the wind grew stronger, his face changed. This is Black Wind Cliff. This Dongbo Shuang is actually rushing towards Black Wind Cliff. Xiang Pangyun immediately understood his intention. Black Wind Cliff itself was not that dangerous. But the abyss beside Black Wind Cliff was the famous Forbidden Land, Black Wind Abyss. One must know that the mountain range of Desolation was the place where most demonic beasts gathered. The clash between humans and demonic beasts had been going on for countless years. Even with the birth of powerful existences like the Dragon Mountain Emperor, the demonic beasts could not be exterminated. Demonic beasts wanted to eat humans, and humans wanted to kill demonic beasts. Mortal armies would sweep through the area, and transcendents from both sides would occasionally fight to the death. Therefore, in the mountain range of Desolation, there were some special areas caused by terrifying battles. Some of these areas were even dangerous to transcendents. These areas were mostly located deep within the mountain range of Desolation. As for the areas outside the mountain range of Desolation, there were dozens of such areas. Among them, Black Wind Abyss was a forbidden land hundreds of miles away from the mountain range of Desolation. A long time ago, Black Wind Abyss was like this. This place was known as a forbidden land. You want to go to Black Wind Cliff? Xiang Pangyun's face was ferocious as he chased after Dongbo Shuang. Of course I am going to Black Wind Cliff. Are you afraid? Dongbo Shuang flew in front. Damn it! Xiang Pangyun chased after Dongbo Shuang. Halfway up the mountain, when the two of them had flown more than 2,000 meters, they began to fight again. This time, Xiang Pangyun really wanted to kill Dongbo Shuang. Although he had the upper hand, the gap between the two of them had not reached the point of despair. Not to mention, upon seeing a chance of survival, Dongbo Shuang's fighting spirit grew even stronger as he fought with all his might. After a head-on collision, Dongbo Shuang continued charging upwards. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The wind around them grew stronger and stronger. The wind was gray, and the higher up they went, the darker the black color became. We're almost there. Dongbo Shuang had never been here before. He only knew how scary this place was. We can't catch up. Xiang Pangyun wanted to fight again before Dongbo Shuang reached the Black Wind Cliff, but judging from the distance between them, it was too late. Whoosh! Dongbo Shuang continued flying and finally arrived at the highest point of the mountain. It was a barren mountain peak that was at least 200 to 300 meters tall. Not even a single blade of grass grew on the peak. A black gale was howling in the surroundings. Black Wind Cliff. Dongbo Shuang stood at the peak of the mountain. This barren mountain peak was none other than the Black Wind Cliff. Beside the Black Wind Cliff, there was a huge black whirlpool. The black whirlpool covered an area of a few thousand meters, and it seemed to be able to engulf everything in the world. This scene was extremely shocking. Even legend rankers would feel extremely weak in front of it. The black whirlpool led to the deepest part of the mountain. What a strong wind! Even though he was standing on the black wind cliff, Shuang felt as if thousands of kilograms of force was exerting on his body. The closer he got to the edge of the cliff, the stronger the force of the gale became, sometimes exceeding 5,000 kilograms. Only experts of the same rank could stand stably on the black wind cliff. Even Silver Moon Knights, whose strength exceeded 5,000 kilograms, would not be able to stand stably on such a gale, and might even be swept into the black wind abyss. Ha, Xiang Pangyun, do you dare to have a life-and-death battle with me on the black wind cliff? Dongbua Shuang held the Feishua godly spear in his hand as he stared at Xiang Pangyun, who was also coming up. Xiang Pangyun looked at the surrounding scene with an ugly expression on his face. They were able to stand stably on the black wind cliff. But if they were to engage in a life-and-death battle, both sides would be moving at high speeds. Especially when their weapons collided, if they were not careful, they would be thrown off the black wind cliff. If they were to fly up, even with the help of the world energy, they would only be able to exert 1,000 gene of strength. It would be impossible for them to resist the violent winds of the black wind abyss. You should know how dangerous the black wind abyss is. It is a dangerous place with a history of over 10,000 years. Once trapped inside, Transcendence might be able to come out alive. But for legend rankers below Transcendence. Although there have been many legend rankers who have ventured into the black wind abyss in the past 10,000 years. But for those who have truly entered the depths, not a single one has been able to come out alive. Dongbua Shuang said. Those who were below Transcendence who dared to enter had all died. Of course, there might be some who survived. But at least according to the public records, no one had been able to come out alive. From this, it could be seen how dangerous it was. Transcendents have also said that the black wind abyss is filled with endless power. Once sucked into the abyss, the speed of the whirlpool would become faster and faster. Even a legend ranker would die from the fall. Dongbua Shuang continued to talk about the terrifying dangers of the abyss, hoping to scare Xiang Pangyun. That was indeed the case. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for a legend ranker to die from falling from such a high altitude. But in the black wind abyss, once sucked into the whirlpool, the violent winds would become extremely strong and the speed of the fall would become faster and faster. Very soon, one would surpass the speed of sound and reach a terrifying speed. Even a legend ranker would not be able to slow down. That bit of world energy was useless in the depths of the whirlpool. The moment one collided with the bottom of the abyss, a legend ranker would immediately die from the fall. Therefore, they would not even be able to survive the first trial. Those who had previously explored the abyss would only slowly go down the cliff. Unless they retreated halfway, those who dared to enter the abyss would also die. Clearly, the dangers of the black wind abyss were not as simple as the violent winds. You are very good. Xiang Pangyun's blood-red eyes were filled with killing intent. Very good. It has been a long time since I, Xiang Pangyun, have been forced into such a situation. It was only when I was younger and weaker that I had to face such dangers. However, I have already lived for more than 100 years. So what if I die? Oh. Furthermore, as an assassin, I have never been afraid of death. Today, I will accompany you, Dongbua Shuang, to have a battle on the black wind cliff. Let's see who will die. Xiang Pangyun started walking towards Dongbua Shuang. At first, he was walking very slowly. Then, he gradually increased his speed. Obviously, he was trying to adapt to the violent winds. The world energy from both sides was still colliding. However, this bit of world energy seemed so weak in the face of the violent winds. You really have guts. Dongbua Shuaying's eyes were also filled with fighting intent. Let's see who will live and who will die. This place was the only place that he could think of that had a chance of survival. After all, even if he tried to escape, he would not be able to escape too far. Xiang Pangyun had been chasing him all this time. Even if he tried to escape, he would only be able to escape within a 100 to 200 li radius. escape towards the water rights town. To Xiang Pangyun and Dongbui Shuang, the water rights town was not a threat at all. They could escape towards the depths of the mountain range of desolation. However, the Snowrock Castle was already 1,000 li away from the periphery of the mountain range of desolation. The distance to the depths of the mountain range of desolation was even further. The Black Wind Cliff was the only place that he could think of. It was an extremely dangerous place. It would be best if Xiang Pangyun retreated in the face of difficulties and did not want to fight with his life. However, if Xiang Pangyun continued to fight, and both sides fought, one of them might accidentally get sucked into the Black Wind Abyss. The more external factors, the more likely it was for him to have a chance of survival. Kill! Xiang Pangyun moved. In a blink of an eye, he dashed forward and slashed the saber in his hand towards Dongbui Shuaying's legs. Dang! His long spear immediately blocked the attack. At the same time, he tried to retreat. The impact of the collision between the weapons was extremely strong. Coupled with the violent winds, he could not help but retreat. His feet even left the ground. Seeing that he was about to be sucked into the Black Wind Abyss, Dongbui Shuang immediately swung the long spear in his hand. Pang! The long spear pierced into the ground, and instantly rebounded, dodging the attack. Fighting on the Black Wind Cliff is indeed different. Dongbui Shuang was secretly shocked. He knew that this place was dangerous, and he was mentally prepared for it. However, he had never fought here before. Dongbui Shuang, in terms of combat experience, I am much more experienced than you. Xiang Pangyun laughed sinisterly as he continued to attack. At the peak of the Black Wind Cliff, under the violent winds, the two of them began to fight crazily. Boom! Xiang Pangyun was forced to retreat. He quickly slashed his saber at the mountain rocks to borrow strength, and continued to attack Dongbui Shuang. Dongbui Shuang raised his long spear, wanting to throw Xiang Pangyun into the air, so that he would not be sucked into the abyss. However, Xiang Pangyun did not even try to block the attack. After all, he had the upper hand, and the initiative was in his hands. Both sides were trying their best to kill each other. The peak of the Black Wind Cliff was filled with cracks and ravines. Large amounts of rocks were thrown into the air, and were sucked into the depths of the Black Wind Abyss. Chapter 69. The Black Wind Cliff was so high that it pierced through the clouds. High above the clouds, the Black Moon Centipede hovered. On the back of the centipede, Bai Yuanji, Qing Shi, Zhong Ling, Tong San, Kong Yu, Ji Rong, Si Chen and the rest were all nervously watching the battle below. The Black Wind Cliff, they are actually fighting to the death on the Black Wind Cliff. Bai Yuanji exclaimed. Beside the Black Wind Cliff, above the Black Wind Abyss was a huge Black Wind Whirlpool. The huge whirlpool set off endless gales, as if the heavens and earth were shaking and twisting. This kind of power caused them to feel a little afraid. In the whistling black wind, two figures were crazily fighting on the cliff. They are in danger now. Once they leave the ground, without any support, they will be sucked into the Black Wind Abyss. Bai Yuanji said, sucked into the Black Wind Abyss, us mortals will definitely die. I'm afraid that only Transcendence will be able to come out alive. This Xiang Pangyun, why is he chasing after my brother? Qing Shi was so anxious that his body was trembling. Didn't he want to kill me? My brother has no grudge against him, why is he fighting with my brother on the Black Wind Cliff without any regard for his life? Yes. Bai Yuanji shook his head, it's fine if he chased us all the way here. The Black Wind Cliff is indeed very dangerous, but Xiang Pangyun still doesn't give up. No wonder people say that he is a madman who enjoys killing. He doesn't think the same way as we do. Perhaps to him, your brother is the best prey. Damn, why is it like this? Qing Shi anxiously looked at the two figures fighting below. The spear-wielding black-clothed youth was his brother, his most important family member. Time passed minute by minute. Dongbui Shuang was walking on the edge of life and death. He even deliberately approached the edge of the Black Wind Cliff to make Xiang Pangyun more cautious. Pang! Both sides separated from each other. Xiang Pangyun didn't continue to attack, but stared at Dongbui Shuang. You still haven't used up your battle chi? Xiang Pangyun was somewhat unwilling. What's wrong? Is your Do Chi about to run out? Like I said, you've been using your Do Chi secret technique for so long, it should be running out soon. On the other hand, Dongbui Shuaying's eyes were filled with excitement. He had succeeded. He had made use of the dangerous environment of the Black Wind Cliff to make Xiang Pangyun hesitate. That was why he was able to hold on for so long. After a long time, both of them were in a state of explosive power. When Zhang Pangyun used his Do Chi secret technique, the rate at which his Do Chi was consumed rapidly increased. Dongbui Shuang had also activated his bloodline of power, and his stamina was also being depleted rapidly. Although the power of heaven and earth was replenished, the replenishment could not keep up with the consumption. Finally, Xiang Pangyun's battle energy could not hold on any longer. He had finally grasped this slim chance of survival. Why do you have more Do Chi than me? Xiang Pangyun did not dare to believe it. He had lived for so long, and his Do Chi cultivation had already reached the level of transcendent perfection. His techniques were passed down to him by his father. Logically speaking, it was rare to find a legend ranker who had more Do Chi than him. Not to mention a brat who had just stepped into the legend ranker. How would he know? What Dongbui Shuang was consuming was his stamina. In terms of endurance, it was obvious that it would last longer than his explosive Do Chi. Your Do Chi is about to run out. If you continue to fight, you will be the one to die. Dongbui Shuang stared at his opponent. Xiang Pangyun's speed was faster than his, and he still had some Do Chi left. If he were to escape now, he would definitely be able to leave him far behind. Dongbui Shuang. Xiang Pangyun did not panic. His blood-red eyes looked at the black-robed youth in front of him. I admire you. You are only 22 years old this year, and you are already able to achieve one with the world. Furthermore, your strength is as one. You are even able to fight with me to this extent. In terms of strength, although you are slightly weaker than me and Si Lianghong, you are still qualified to be ranked in the top 1000 of the Dragon Mountain Book, 22 years old, and you are already so amazing. You still have a long life ahead of you. If you continue to fight, there is an 80 to 90% chance that you will become a transcendent in the future. Once you become a transcendent, you will be on a whole new level. Dongbui Shuang felt that something was amiss. Something was wrong. Logically speaking, his Do Chi was about to run out. Xiang Pangyun should either seize the opportunity to continue attacking, or he should immediately give up and retreat. Why is he talking nonsense here? A future transcendent. Killing you is a huge contribution. Xiang Pangyun suddenly laughed sinisterly. His entire body suddenly started to change. He started to expand rapidly, and a large amount of black scales appeared on the surface of his expanded skin. In a blink of an eye, the Xiang Pangyun in front of him had turned into a black four-hooved mutated beast that was over 10 meters long. The four-hooved mutated beast had a pair of scaled wings. Its eyes were blood-red in color, and the black scales on its body had a faint blood-red color circulating around it. It was strange and unfathomable. The aura it was emitting made even Dongbui Shuang feel threatened. Its body height was at least 6 meters. With such a huge demonic beast appearing in front of him, Dongbui Shuang was completely stunned. Duh! Demonic beast? You are not a human. Dongbui Shuang did not dare to believe his eyes. A demonic beast, and a mutated demonic beast at that? He instantly came to a conclusion. The demonic beast in front of him was a terrifying 6th-rank demonic beast. Furthermore, it was a mutated one. In terms of strength, a 6th-rank demonic beast was equivalent to a legend ranker. There were actually only so many normal demonic beasts. They were all recorded in human books, and could be recognized with a single glance. As for the mutated demonic beast, it was a demonic beast that had awakened its primordial bloodline that was not even recorded in the books. In the primordial era, there were giants and also beasts. Therefore, it was extremely rare for demonic beasts to awaken their primordial bloodline. Unlike humans who relied on their dochi, demonic beasts relied on their bodies. Therefore, the mutated demonic beasts that awakened their primordial bloodline were extremely terrifying. Humph. The four-hooved black-armored demonic beast's blood-red eyes were filled with madness. It was bestowed by its father and obtained a human body. Then, it blended into the human world. Even a legend ranker would not be able to live beyond 200 years, unless it was like Si Liang Hong who had transformed her body into a blood demon. As for his alias Xiang Pangyun, he had been in the human world for over 100 years. Even if he did not expose himself this time, he would still have to return to the human world after a few more years. This time, Wind Demon accepted the mission. Actually, Xiang Pangyun did not want to get involved. However, when he heard from the Bloodshed Tavern that Dongbui Shuang might be a legend ranker, his heart was moved. 22 years old, such a young age. The Bloodshed Tavern would not shoot without thinking. If Dongbui Shuang was really a legend ranker, such a young legend ranker would definitely become a transcendent in the future. Killing such a genius would definitely be a great contribution. It would be even greater than killing 10 or 20 other legend rankers. Therefore, Xiang Pangyun took the initiative to tag along. The truth was even more shocking than what he had expected. This Dongbui Shuang, not only had he achieved one with the world, his strength had also reached perfection. Furthermore, his strength had increased to a level that was close to his own. Such a monstrous genius was rarely seen in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire. How could he give up on such a great contribution? Therefore, he did not care about anything else to kill Dongbui Shuang. From the start. The reason why he tagged along was because of this human genius. Dongbui Shuang, prepare to die. The four-hooved black-scaled mutated beast charged forward. It's actually a mutated demonic beast. Dongbui Shuang knew that the situation was far from good. He immediately moved his body and stabbed forward with lightning speed. Chi, the four-hooved black-scaled mutated beast, did not care about the stab at all. It allowed the stab to pierce through the scales on its chest. Cracks appeared on the scales, but the stab did not completely pierce through. Furthermore, the scales on the surface of the mutated beast's body were stacked on top of each other. It was likely that the stab would have to pierce through 2 or 3 of the scales in order to pierce through its body. Who? The four-hooved black-scaled mutated beast's sharp claws furiously pounced forward. Its 4 hooves were at least 3 meters long and were thick and powerful. The claws on its hooves were as sharp as blades. When both of its front hooves pounced forward at the same time, its might overflowed to the heavens. Dongbui Shuang hastily scampered away on the ground, cutting a sorry figure. Its strength is even stronger than when it is in its human form. Dongbui Shuang felt despair. The difference in strength was too great. The defense of the mutated demonic beast Xiang Pangyun's scales was extremely high. Even his spear could not pierce through it. How could he fight against it with such strength? If Xiang Pangyun's human form was around the top 500 of the Dragon Mountain roll, if not the top 100, he would at least be in the top 200. This was very normal. Demonic beasts were naturally stronger when they were in their true form. After all, the human body was much weaker. Who? The four-hooved black-scaled mutated beast Xiang Pangyun pounced forward 3 times at lightning speed. How powerful was the flapping of its scaled wings? If it were to fly, its speed could easily exceed the speed of sound. As a mutated demonic beast that could fly, it naturally did not care about the strong winds around it. Its speed was fast and its body was huge. With just 3 pounces, Dongbui Shuang was unable to dodge anymore. Pang! Although Dongbui Shuang's spear was placed horizontally in front of him to block, the claws of the four-hooved black-scaled mutated beast still managed to send Dongbui Shuang flying backwards. Freeze! Dongbui Shuang was sent flying horizontally. He hurriedly thrust his spear downwards with all his might. Pooh! The spear pierced more than a meter deep into the mountain rock. Although a large number of cracks appeared around the rock, Dongbu Shuiying's body, which was flying backwards, came to a halt. Stop struggling, Dongbu Shuiying. The four-hooved black-scaled mutated beast had already arrived in front of Dongbu Shuiying. Chapter 70. High up in the sky, Master Bai Yuanji, Qingshi, and the others on the back of the Black Moon Centipede were stunned when they saw Xiang Pangyun suddenly transform into a gigantic four-hooved, black-scaled exotic beast. It's an exotic beast, a mutated magical beast. A rank 6 exotic magical beast. Sichen cried out in alarm. Xiang Pangyun actually transformed into a magical beast. Bang, bang, bang. The four-hooved, black-scaled exotic beast pounced on Dongbu Shuiying 3 times, putting him in a desperate situation. No, no, don't. Qingshi burst into tears. Don't. That was his most important family member. Snow Eagle. Zhongling and Tong San were also frantic. Run, run. Otherwise, after the Lord dies, we will also die. Master Bai Yuanji's expression changed greatly. When he saw the wings on the back of the four-hooved, black-scaled exotic beast, he felt fear. Because the Black Moon Centipede only moved at half the speed of sound, a rank 4 flying-type magical beast would be able to compete with it. Some of the flying-type magical beasts were even faster. A rank 5 flying-type magical beast would definitely surpass an alchemy creature like the Black Moon Centipede. As for a rank 6 magical beast, Xiang Pangyun's original form was a mutated magical beast. Its speed would probably be even more terrifying. They had to escape as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would all die in front of that terrifying mutated magical beast. Bai Yuanji was very clear that after Xiang Pangyun transformed into his original form, Dongbu Shuiying had no power to resist. The time given to them to escape was too short. They had to seize every second they had. Who? The Black Moon Centipede immediately turned and dashed into the distance. Brother, brother! Qingshi cried as he stared at the Black-Wind Cliff in the distance. He prayed for a miracle, praying for his brother to survive. The long spear pierced a meter deep into the mountain rock. Dongbu Shuiying's flying body stopped, but the four-hooved, black-scaled exotic beast pounced at him again. Ha! Dongbu Shuiying suddenly exerted his strength and pounced to the side. At the same time, he pulled out the Feishua Divine Spear from the mountain rocks and tried his best to avoid the four-hooved, black-armored strange beast's attack. The four-hooved, black-armored beast's blood-red eyes were filled with killing intent. Boom! Its gigantic scaled wings suddenly flapped. Just how large was the range of its wings when they were fully spread out? Its huge body rushed past Shuiying in an instant. Shuiying dodged the attack of its body, but what followed after was a huge pair of wings. On the surface of the wings, there was still a blood color circulating. Shuiying did not have the time to use his spear. With a peng sound, the wings directly slapped on his body. The surging power caused him to be directly sent flying backwards. With this wave, Dongbu Shuiying was already out of the Black-Wind Cliff's range. As he continued to fly backwards, the huge black wind vortex continued to engulf him. The difference was too great. After Xiang Pangyun returned to his demonic beast form, his strength was completely overwhelming. Furthermore, the wind at the Black-Wind Cliff was too strong, and the four-hooved, black-armored strange beast was too huge. It was very difficult to dodge. Ha ha ha. The four-hooved, black-armored strange beast flapped its wings and charged out of the Black-Wind Cliff, flying into the air. However, with another flap of its wings, it easily stopped in midair. Although the closer one was to the black wind vortex, the stronger the wind was. How strong was the power of the four-hooved, black-armored strange beast's wings? Furthermore, as a flying demonic beast, it was naturally good at using the wind. With a flap of its wings, its strength was inconceivable. Even in the center of the black wind vortex, it could withstand it and not be swept away, let alone in the distance. The four-hooved, black-armored strange beast and Dongbush Shuang stared at each other. Dongbush Shuang was swept away and sent flying backwards. The four-hooved, black-armored strange beast didn't continue to chase, because if it did, it would have to go deeper into the vortex, and the danger level would continue to increase. Naturally, it didn't want to be in danger again. Furthermore, the Black Wind Abyss was enough to kill Dongbush Shuang. Ha, Dongbush Shuang, after you die, I will let your little brother and the others accompany you. You won't be lonely after you die. The four-hooved, black-armored strange beast flapped its wings and was about to soar into the sky and chase after the Black Moon Centipede. It wanted to kill all the humans on the Black Moon Centipede. Little brother. Time seemed to slow down. Dongbush Shuaying's eyes noticed the fleeing Black Moon Centipede in the sky. He could clearly see Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong on the back of the Black Moon Centipede, who were in pain and anxiety. He also saw his little brother, Qingshi, who was about to break down and rush out of the Black Moon Centipede. Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong were tightly holding on to Qingshi, not letting him fall. Big brother, big brother. Qingshi, who was on the back of the Black Moon Centipede, completely broke down. He stretched out his hand and looked at Dongbush Shuang, who was already flying towards the center of the vortex. That was his big brother. Little brother, little stone. Dongbush Shuang didn't know why, but tears suddenly flowed out. When his parents were still alive, Little Stone, who liked to hug his legs, said, "Big brother, hug. Big brother, bad guy." After being teased, Little Stone shouted, "I want to sleep with Big brother." That chubby little brat had slept on the same bed as her for several years, and her clothes had been soaked by his saliva countless times. "Big brother, I'll give you half." The greedy little brat was reluctant to give the good food to others, but he was willing to give it to his big brother. The little brat had grown up and started to learn magic. "Brother, I'm already a mage, I'm a mage." The young man cheered. "Qingshi is awesome," said Dongbush Shuang with a smile. Scenes of his life appeared in his mind. Regardless of whether he was purely mischievous or a little willful, he was still the most important family member in Dongbush Shuaying's life, a family member that he was willing to protect with his life. An incomparably strong will completely penetrated his soul. No one could. No one is allowed to kill my little brother. No way. Dongbush Shuang, even if I die. Even if he died, he would crawl out of hell. Ah! Dongbush Shuang suddenly let out an incomparably angry roar, a roar that came from the depths of his life. At the same time, a short spear appeared in his right hand. At this moment, he was already flying towards the whirlpool, and there was no way for him to get close to the four-hooved, black-armored strange beast. The only way was to rely on the short spear, although the short spear looked like a joke. However, at this moment, Dongbush Shuang only knew that he had to seize every opportunity. The flames of anger burned in his chest, and endless anger and anxiety filled every part of his body. The flames of anger seemed to be burning his entire body. Boom! Dazzling flames suddenly appeared on the surface of Dongbush Shuaying's body, and flames appeared in the air around him. The short spear in his hand was also surrounded by flames. In the black wind that engulfed the world, how bright and dazzling the red flames were. At this moment, he was like a god in the flames. Boom! His body leaned back in midair, and then he suddenly exerted force. The short spear in his hand turned into a flame, like a meteor. The four-hooved, black-armored strange beast couldn't help but turn its head to look when Dongbush Shuaying let out an angry roar. Then, it saw Dongbush Shuaying's entire body enveloped in flames, and the short spear that was shooting towards it like a meteor. This is... The four-hooved, black-armored strange beast was immediately shocked, and hurriedly tried to block it. Pooh! Its claws barely managed to block the attack, but that streak of light still pierced into the four-hooved, black-armored exotic beast's chest. The entire short spear pierced into its body, and the tip of the spear even poked out a little from the back of its neck. Die for me! A second short spear appeared in Dongbush Shuaying's hand, and then a third short spear. Boom! Boom! The second short spear directly pierced through the strange beast's lower abdomen, creating a huge hole. The short spear also pierced deep into its body. As for the third short spear, it directly pierced through the skull of the four-hooved, black-armored exotic beast, piercing right through. Myriad! Myriad! The four-hooved, black-armored strange beast looked at the figure in the flames in disbelief. At this moment, it was incomparably sure that this terrifying human genius had reached perfect unity a long time ago. Realm of myriad existences. When one's skills reached the pinnacle, the next step was to gradually grasp some of the mysteries of myriad existences. It was divided according to the realm. Great Spear Master represented the pinnacle of a mortal's skills. Realm of myriad existences was when a transcendent began to comprehend the nature of myriad existences. This was only the first step in comprehending the nature of myriad existences. However, only transcendents could grasp this realm. Among the legend rankers, in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire, including those legend rankers who were more than 100 years old, there were only about 50 people who could reach this realm. Great Spear Master represented the perfection of one's strength. After that, one would be able to comprehend the nature of myriad existences, and learn the mysteries of myriad existences. Dongbua Shuiying's strength had reached perfect unity when he was 15 years old. After that, he built a bamboo house in the back mountain and began to comprehend the nature of myriad existences. His spear skills gradually became more and more restrained, and seemed to carry some natural aura. Actually, this was the process of learning the mysteries of myriad existences. Unity of man and nature only allowed the practitioner to observe the nature of myriad existences more clearly. Before reaching unity of man and nature, one could still feel the nature of myriad existences. However, the feeling was more vague, as if one was looking at it through a thin layer of gauze. However, after 6 years, his spear skills had indeed become more and more natural. Especially the Qi cultivation method 3-stage flame technique. Every time he absorbed the power of flames into his body, he could clearly feel the mysteries of the power of flames. 6 years of accumulation. At the last moment, the complete explosion of his life force, the explosion of his willpower, the endless anger and desire, allowed him to finally break through the Great Spear Master realm and reach the realm of myriad existences. As the saying goes, myriad existences of myriad existences, Dongbua Shuiying had grasped a bit of the mysteries of myriad existences. However, this was the power of the mysteries of myriad existences, something that only the top 50 of the Dragon Mountain rankings could grasp. This was a power that was enough to kill a pseudo-transcendent. Dongbua Shuiying bathed in flames. The surrounding flames surged, trying to stop the violent wind vortex. However, the power of the flames only had a strength of 10,000 jin. When he threw the short spear, his body was also continuously retreating. Now, he was almost at the center of the vortex. The force of the black wind was already a few 100,000 jin. He couldn't withstand it at all. This true peerless genius, who was only 22 years old but was already able to rank in the top 50 of the Dragon Mountain rankings, was destined to fall after emitting a dazzling light. Qingshi. Dongbua Shuiying looked at the black moon centipede that was fleeing in panic in the sky. A smile of relief appeared on his face. Enough. Enough. It was enough that his younger brother survived. Who? The violent wind swept past. Dongbua Shuiying continued falling. He still raised his head and smiled at the black moon centipede in the sky. He looked at the family on the centipede's back that he was willing to protect with his life. Chapter 71. As the black moon centipede fled in panic, Great Mage Bai Yuanji nervously looked at the mutated beast below. Suddenly, he was stunned. Zhong Ling, Tong San, Qingshi, Kong Yu, Ji Rong, and Si Chen were all stunned. Because, when Xiang Pangyun transformed into a mutated beast and knocked Dongbua Shuiying off the Black Wind Cliff, Dongbua Shuiying was involuntarily sucked into the whirlpool of wind. Suddenly, Dongbua Shuiying let out a roar that shook the heavens and earth. His body leaned back and a short spear appeared in his right hand. His entire body burst into flames and dazzling flames appeared around him. The huge flames spread out like a beautiful fire lotus. Dongbui Shuang was like a flame god. He threw the short spear. It turned into a meteor. 1 spear, 2 spears, 3 spears. The demonic beast was unable to block any of the short spears. Each spear pierced through its vitals and killed it on the spot. Its powerful wings also softened, and its huge body no longer resisted the force of the wind. It was also sent flying into the black wind vortex. It's dead. The mutated beast is dead. Great Mage Bai Yuanji was overjoyed and shocked at the same time. Quick, go save Snow Eagle, quick. Zhongling had been on the brink of death many times and knew that time couldn't be wasted. His reaction was the fastest. Qing Shi immediately reacted and shouted, "Quick, save my brother. Teacher, quick, save my brother." Oh! Bai Yuanji immediately reacted. Whoosh! He controlled the Black Moon Centipede and immediately turned in an arc. Then, he immediately dove down at half the speed of sound. Although the distance was more than 1,000 meters, it could easily close the distance. However, Dongbui Shuang was already sucked into the center of the whirlpool of wind and was sucked down. It's too late. Bai Yuanji shook his head. Even if it's too late, the Black Moon Centipede won't dare to get too close. At this time, he didn't say that everyone knew it was too late. They just wanted to try their best. Dongbui Shuang, is he going to die? Kong Yu's thoughts were complicated. She had never thought that Dongbui Shuang would be this powerful. Even after Xiang Pangyun had revealed his demonic beast form, he was still killed by him. Ji Rong's eyes lit up. There was a trace of fanaticism in her eyes. He is going to die. It's good that he died, it's good that he died. He was the only one who stopped me from being together with Qing Shi. Now that he's dead, I believe that it won't be long before Qing Shi and I are together again. The treasure left behind by such a peerless expert. I will definitely obtain it and offer it to the Almighty God. He looked at the Black Moon Centipede that was swooping down. Little brother. Dongbui Shuang glanced at the huge corpse of the four-hooved, black-armored beast. With a thought, an iron hook appeared in his hand, and he immediately flung it out. Phew! How powerful was his strength! Even in the black wind whirlpool, the iron hook turned into a blur as it flew out. It quickly wrapped around the corpse of the four-hooved, black-armored beast and wrapped around its neck twice. This rope was left behind from the storage ring of that Lord God emissary. It was extremely tough. With a sudden tug, the huge corpse of the four-hooved, black-armored beast quickly descended. At the same time, Dongbui Shuang rose up. Whoosh! He instantly landed on the corpse of the beast. Standing on the corpse of the four-hooved, black-armored beast, Dongbui Shuang felt the surrounding wind. Then, he suddenly exerted force with his legs. His entire body was bathed in flames. Boom! He soared into the sky. However, the black wind whirlpool was too powerful. Dongbui Shuang's speed was greatly reduced. Even with the help of the flames, he only managed to jump 50 meters before he began to descend. The Black Moon Centipede swooped down at high speed. It only flew a few hundred meters before it stopped. It didn't dare to approach the black wind whirlpool. Get closer. Qing Shi said anxiously. I can't get closer. The wind is too strong. If you get any closer, my Black Moon Centipede won't be able to withstand it. Bai Yuanji said. The surrounding winds were howling, and the Black Moon Centipede was already having a hard time dealing with them. If they were to get any closer, the Black Moon Centipede would not be able to escape from the winds and would be swept away. Qing Shi, Zhongling, and the others on the centipede's back anxiously looked at the black wind whirlpool in the distance. Phew! In the center of the whirlpool, the four-hooved, mutated beast's corpse suddenly sank. At the same time, a flaming figure soared into the sky. It was surrounded by a sea of red flames, trying its best to weaken the power of the wind. Brother! Qing Shi shouted with tears streaming down his face. Snow Eagle. Zhongling and Tong San were also anxious, but they couldn't do anything to help. Bathed in flames, Dongbu Shuang raised his head and looked at Qing Shi, Zhongling, Tong San, and the others on the back of the Black Moon Centipede. His body had already begun to descend uncontrollably. Qing Shi. Live well and don't disappoint me. Dongbu Shuaying's vigorous voice resounded through heaven and earth. He was still most worried about his younger brother. He was afraid that if he died, his younger brother would collapse and not be able to recover. This was something he didn't want to see. Ha ha ha, don't worry. I, Dongbu Shuaying, won't die so easily. Even if I fall into the Black Wind Abyss, I will come out alive. Dongbu Shuaying's voice was full of fighting spirit and confidence. He glanced at the others on the back of the Black Moon Centipede and suddenly saw Ji Rong. He couldn't help but be shocked. This Ji Rong was suspected by the Dragon Mountain Manor to be a follower of the evil god. Now, she actually ran to the back of the Black Moon Centipede to be close to his younger brother. Qing Shi, remember this. Don't be together with this Ji Rong. Master Bai Yuanji, tell her to get out of Snowrock Mountain tomorrow. Don't let her take a single step into Snowrock Mountain. Dongbu Shuang said firmly. Ji Rong, who was on the centipede's back, was stunned. Qing Shi's brother didn't even give her a chance. Lord, don't worry. Venerable Bai Yuanji immediately agreed. Facing such a hero, such an amazing person, he was filled with respect and admiration. Haha, thanks. Dongbu Shuang was still full of pride. When I return from the Black Wind Abyss, I will definitely have a drink with you. This old man will be waiting. Bai Yuanji said loudly. While they were talking, Dongbu Shuaying's body continued to descend. Within the Black Wind Vortex, the flame figure gradually became more and more blurred. As he descended, he looked at his younger brother Qing Shi with a smile on his face. The wind was still whistling. There was no other sound in the world. The black-clothed youth in the flame had completely fallen into the depths of the Black Wind Vortex and could no longer be seen. Qing Shi's body was trembling. He stretched out his hand, wanting to grab something. The figure of his brother in the flame seemed to still be in front of him. Why? Qing Shi's emotions completely collapsed. Pain and sorrow drowned him like a tide. He had never tasted such pain before. It was as if his life was being torn apart. Brother! Qing Shi let out a mournful cry, come back, come back, come back. I will definitely listen to you, I won't scold you anymore, I won't be angry with you anymore. Come back, come back. Zhongling and Tong San hugged Qing Shi on both sides, both of them also crying. After more than 20 years together. To them, Dongbu Shuang was like their own child. How could they not be sad? It was just that they had experienced more life and death situations, so they didn't break down. Snow Eagle, don't worry, Tong San and I will definitely take good care of Qing Shi. Zhongling secretly said. Tong San hugged Qing Shi, your brother's talent is unparalleled, his strength is far beyond our imagination. Even if he fell into the Black Wind Abyss, he will definitely come back alive, definitely. Master Bai Yuanji and Master Si Chen at the side. They all knew that Dongbu Shuang said that he would definitely come back. It was only to give his younger brother some hope, so that he wouldn't do something stupid. Amazing. Bai Yuanji sighed, only 22 years old, that Xiang Pangyun was still killed by Dongbu Shuang even though he revealed his true form as a demonic beast. In the end, he was even able to control the flames between heaven and earth. This is already the realm of myriad existences, right? The legendary realm of myriad existences, in the entire vast Dragon Mountain Empire, including those over 100 years old guys, there are less than 50 people who have reached this realm. Master Si Chen also sighed, once one reaches this realm, they will definitely enter the top 50. Even if my family's ancestors were to face the current Dongbu Shuang, they wouldn't even have the strength to fight back. Just like Xiang Pangyun who revealed his true form, although his strength increased greatly, he was still directly killed by the short spear. This kind of strength is already enough to kill a pseudo-transcendent. Master Bai Yuanji sighed. This kind of genius, in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire, there will only be one every 100 years. Master Sichen didn't have the slightest intention to compare himself with Dongbui Shuaying, only admiration and regret. Although it was rare to reach the realm of one with the world at the age of 22, there were still more than 10 people in Dragon Mountain Empire. But to reach the realm of myriad existences at the age of 22, indeed, it was hard to find one every 100 or 200 years, a true genius. Such a peerless talent, just as he revealed his talent, he fell. Master Bai Yuanji sighed, what a pity, what a pity. That's right, if he was still alive, he would definitely become a transcendent in the future. Master Sichen also shook his head. The two of them fought and chased for over 100 li, with such a huge commotion. I believe that Dragon Mountain Manor will quickly come to find us, once the news of this battle spreads. Dongbui Shuaying will probably become truly famous, but unfortunately, it's already too late. Bai Yuanji nodded. Once the news of this battle spread, one could imagine the commotion it would cause. Originally, Dongbui Shuaying should have received endless glory, or even directly walked to a higher position in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire, but he would never be able to enjoy that kind of glory again. Black Wind Abyss. The violent wind whistled. The further down he went, the stronger the wind became. Dongbui Shuaying's surroundings were filled with flames. He controlled the energy of heaven and earth to transform it into flames, doing his best to obstruct and slow down as much as possible. However, he continued to increase his speed. It's too fast, my speed has already surpassed the speed of sound. If I continue to increase my speed, if I really fall to the bottom of Black Wind Abyss, I'm afraid I'll really fall to my death. Dongbui Shuaying was anxious. Suddenly, he saw the four-hooved black-scaled mutated beast's corpse below him. That mutated beast's body was bigger, and it had two huge wings. Obviously, when falling, the resistance of the wings was greater. Its falling speed was not as fast as Dongbui Shuaying's, allowing Dongbui Shuaying to catch up. Dongbui Shuaying's heart stirred. Immediately the flames of heaven and earth spread out, wrapping around the four-hooved mutated beast's corpse, doing his best to slow it down. As for himself, not only did he not rely on the flames to slow down, he actually increased his speed. Very quickly, Dongbui Shuaying landed on the four-hooved mutated beast's corpse. He sensed a bit and found a storage bracelet in between the scales of the beast's chest. He quickly took it and sensed it. There were many treasures in the storage bracelet, even food, a small pile of gold notes, jewels, gold coins, and so on. Nothing. Dongbui Shuaying wanted to find something that could help him during his fall, but he did not find anything. Obviously, under normal circumstances, it was impossible for a legend ranker to fall to his death. Whether it was Xiang Pangyun or that Lord Divine Envoy, they did not prepare anything that could help reduce the impact of the fall. Dongbui Shuaying's gaze landed on the four-hooved mutated beast's corpse. This mutated beast's scales are incomparably hard, and its body is even harder than the mountain rocks and soil. The effect of reducing impact is very low. Dongbui Shuaying flipped his hand, and Feishu, a godly spear, appeared in his hand. The tip of the spear was flat and sharp, and shua, it rapidly cut off the four-hooved mutated beast's wings. The scaled wings no longer had the blood-colored light, and its defensive power had decreased. That blood-colored light was actually the manifestation of the primordial bloodline of this four-hooved mutated beast. Very quickly, one of the scaled wings was cut off. This scaled wing was more than 10 meters long and extremely wide, but its actual weight was ordinary. Clearly, there was a hollow structure inside. Pooh! 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 Dongbui Shuaying immediately pierced through some of the scales on the wing, allowing his hands to grab the supporting bones of the wing. Whether I live or die, it all depends on this gamble. Dongbui Shuaying put away the Feishu, a godly spear, and used both hands to grab onto the tough bones of the scales. Just like that, the gigantic scaled wings were propped up by him. Who? The gigantic wings that were more than 10 meters long and more than 5 meters wide, were propped up like that. One had to know that the speed of his descent had exceeded the speed of sound, even though the surrounding winds were constantly pulling him downwards. But at supersonic speeds, when the gigantic wings were propped up, the force of the air currents immediately caused Dongbo Shuiying's speed to decrease sharply, separating him from the four-hoofed mutated beast's corpse below. With both hands propping up the gigantic scaled wings, and the surrounding flames, although his speed had decreased, the further he descended, the stronger the wind became, causing his speed to exceed the speed of sound. Furthermore, the wind was still spinning, causing Dongbo Shuiying to occasionally be flipped and tumbled by the wind. Then, with great difficulty, he propped up his wings again. He was struggling, trying his best to find a way to survive. How deep is this black wind abyss? I feel like I've already descended 7,000 to 8,000 meters. Dongbo Shuiying spun and flipped as he plummeted rapidly. Dongbo Shuiying looked through the black winds and saw a gigantic black creature entrenched on a mountain wall about a kilometer away. That blurry black creature looked a little like a gigantic dragon. But its body was more than 1,000 meters long. This length had already exceeded the length of a typical gigantic dragon. The gigantic black creature's golden eyes swept over him. Dongbo Shuiying felt his soul tremble. With such a difference, it was as if the creature could destroy him with a single breath. At this moment Dongbo Shuiying understood why all those below the Transcendence realm who came here to explore were doomed to die. Who? He fell very quickly, and in an instant, he could no longer see the gigantic black creature. He continued to fall deeper and darker. End of volume. The curtains of the novel are gradually opening. I'll have to trouble everyone to spend a few seconds to vote for me. Thank you very much. Chapter 72. As he was descending, he could occasionally see some black figures through the black wind. Some of them were huge, while some of them had the appearance of a normal human. The invisible pressure they exuded varied in strength. The stronger ones could kill him with a single glance if they wanted to. The weaker ones had the strength of a transcendent. This made Dongbo Shuiying even more nervous. When he was descending, he said that he would definitely return. On one hand, it was for the sake of his younger brother, and on the other hand, he felt that he could give it a try. But now, he understood how difficult it was to get out of this place alive. Forget it, I can only take it one step at a time. Dongbo Shuiying was determined. Now, I have to think of a way to stay alive when I descend. Grabbing the skeleton of the gigantic scaled wings with both hands, he pushed them open. The direction of the wind kept changing. Dongbo Shuiying tried his best to increase the resistance of the scaled wings so that he could slow down even more. But it's still too fast. Too fast. Dongbo Shuiying's falling speed was still increasing. At this speed, I might fall to my death. Dongbo Shuiying's expression changed abruptly. He could clearly see the ground below him. I'm almost there. Dongbo Shuiying's heart was in his throat. No matter how dangerous the black wind abyss was, if he fell to his death while descending, he would not even have the chance to struggle. Boom! Suddenly, when he was about 100 meters above the ground, the wind suddenly disappeared. It was as if there was a strange barrier. There was no wind at the height of 100 meters above the ground. But 100 meters above the ground. The wind was so strong that it covered the entire sky. Dongbo Shuiying tore through the air and descended with a sonic boom. As soon as he entered the 100-meter range, in a situation where there was no wind at all, the resistance of the gigantic scaled wings abruptly increased. Dongbo Shuiying could feel his arms trembling. Fortunately, his body was strong, and he was able to maintain his strength at such a crucial moment, allowing him to withstand the impact. In the distance of 100 meters, Dongbo Shuiying's speed was decreasing rapidly. But after all, it was only a distance of 100 meters. His falling speed was too fast. In the blink of an eye, he smashed into the rocks on the ground. Although his speed had been reduced by half, it still surpassed the speed of sound. He directly smashed a huge hole in the rocks. Boom! His feet landed on the ground first, followed by his whole body. The rocks were as soft as water. Simply put, with Dongbu Shuiying's terrifying physique, the mountain rocks were indeed very fragile in front of him. When Dongbu Shuiying fell on the mountain rock, it was like a normal person jumping into the water. However, when the speed was fast enough and the height was high enough, even the surface of the water could kill a person. Phew! When he fell, he was stunned. The huge impact caused his bones to crack, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. I'm injured. The bones in my left arm are broken, and 3 of my ribs are broken as well. The most troublesome thing is that my internal organs are injured as well. Shui Ying's control over his body was very precise. He was glad that the last 100 meters had allowed him to decelerate. His speed had been reduced by half. Otherwise, even with his scaled wings, he would still fall to his death. My injuries are more severe now, and my internal organs have been damaged. I'm unable to withstand too much damage. Dongbu Shuiying immediately understood. I need to find a place to recover from my injuries as soon as possible. With my body's regenerative ability, I should be able to fully recover in 6 hours. His skin and flesh recovered the fastest, followed by his bones, and finally, his internal organs. Regardless, Dongbu Shuiying was still happy. At the very least, he managed to survive the fall. Following that, Shuiying rapidly and abruptly leapt upwards to the surface. Using his hands as a support, he lowered his body and looked into the distance. He first saw the remains of the 4-hooved black-armored corpse in front of him. After that fall, its body had long since been completely smashed, and only a part of it could be seen. At the same time, a black-armored soldier appeared in the distance. It was flying towards him with a speed as fast as a shadow. Not good, I've been discovered. Dongbu Shuiying did not dare to hesitate as he immediately fled. So. Shuiying quickly retreated, but soon after, he felt puzzled and stopped. He hid behind a huge rock 1 kilometer away, peeking into the distance. At this moment, the black-armored soldier had already reached the huge pit where Shuiying had fallen. Shuiying's eyesight was frightening. With a single glance, he discovered that beneath the black-armored soldier's armor, his body was actually condensed from a black fog. Even the pair of eyes revealed by the mask on his face was faintly glowing red. It's not a human, nor is it a demonic beast. It seems like, it's not a living being. Dongbu Shuiying speculated doubtfully. I thought that it had discovered me and was chasing after me. Logically speaking, a normal legend ranker should have been able to see me with a single look from that distance. But it only followed the sound of the fall and looked at the pit. It did not discover me. It seems like its eyes are only average. Or perhaps, it doesn't rely on its eyes. Dongbu Shuiying made all sorts of conjectures. But even so, judging from the speed of the black-armored soldier, it was impossible for it to escape. In terms of speed, the black-armored soldier had completely surpassed Xiang Pangyun. Let's find a place to recuperate first. Dongbu Shuiying observed his surroundings. Very quickly, he discovered a small cave on the side of the mountain. When the black-armored soldier turned around and left, Dongbu Shuiying leaped 50 meters into the small cave. He had used the heaven and earth energy to sense the small cave, but there was nothing else inside. Standing at the edge of the small cave, he carefully looked towards the direction where the black-armored soldier had come from. The higher he stood, the farther he could see. That is, Dongbu Shuiying was slightly shocked. About 50 to 60 kilometers away, there was a cave palace that was emitting a faint green light. Outside the cave palace, there was a large number of black-armored soldiers patrolling the area. These black-armored soldiers did not seem to know fatigue and were constantly patrolling the area. Apart from the black-armored soldiers, there were also other black creatures that were smaller in number, but they gave off an oppressive feeling. Regardless of whether it was the black dragon-like creature that occupied the top of the mountain, or the other black creatures, including the weakest black-armored soldier, Dongbu Shuiying nodded his head. It seems like they are all protecting the cave palace. If I were to approach them, I would probably be killed easily. Dongbu Shuiying muttered to himself. Forget it, let's recuperate first. Dongbua Shuang retreated back into the cave and casually sat down cross-legged. With a flip of his hand, he took out a huge piece of meat. With a thought, a flame appeared and he started roasting it. This piece of meat was from Xiang Pangyun's storage treasure. In fact, regardless of whether it was Xiang Pangyun or the god's emissary, they had stored a large amount of food and water in their storage treasures. This caused Dongbua Shuang to mutter to himself. Perhaps most legend rankers would bring food and water with them. As for the smell of the barbecue, Dongbua Shuang was not worried about it. He was able to control the heaven and earth energy, completely isolating the smell within the cave. And, it smells so good. This Xiang Pangyun seems to be a glutton. Dongbua Shuang started to chomp down on the meat. Under his control, the broken bones in his body started to reconnect and reconnect. His internal organs were also gradually recovering. This night was long. Zhongling and Tong San were still able to control their emotions, but Qingshi was on the verge of collapsing. My brother will definitely come back, he will definitely come back. I will not leave, I will not leave. I will wait for him at the bottom of the Black Wind Cliff. I will wait here. At first, Qingshi refused to leave. It was Zhongling who persuaded him. Qingshi, the Black Wind Abyss is so big. When the Snow Eagle comes out, he might come out from somewhere else. Once he comes out, he will definitely go straight to Snowrock Castle. If you wait at the bottom of the mountain, I'm afraid you will miss him. Qingshi was finally convinced. The Black Moon Centipede flew back to Snowrock Castle. Who? In the middle of the night, a cavalry unit arrived at Snowrock Castle. The leader was Lord Xian of Dragon Mountain Manor. The battle between Xiang Pangyun and Dongbua Shuang. How shocking was this news? The spies that Dragon Mountain Manor had arranged quickly spread the news to Dragon Mountain Manor in Waterrights Town. Lord Xian was also shocked. He did not even bother to sleep and immediately rushed over. Rumble the drawbridge was lowered and the city gates opened. Lord Xian, Zhongling personally came out to greet him. How is it? Where is Dongbua Shuang? And where is Xiang Pangyun? Lord Xian asked. Chapter 73. Lord Xian, let's talk as we walk. Although Zhongling felt uncomfortable, he still maintained basic etiquette. Xiang Pangyun came to kill Dongbua Shuang. Lord Xian and Zhongling walked side by side and couldn't help but ask at the same time. This matter was too important. Zhongling nodded. A group of killers came to kill Qingshi because of the Bloodshed Tavern's mission. These killers were killed by Snow Eagle, and at this time, Xiang Pangyun appeared and fought with Snow Eagle. They fought all the way from Snowrock Mountain to Black Wind Cliff. Black Wind Cliff? Xian was shocked. As the head of the Dragon Mountain Manor in a small county, he naturally knew the terrible danger zone in his territory. They actually chased and killed for hundreds of miles. Xian was shocked. He couldn't believe it. To be able to fight to this extent, it was obvious that the gap between the two sides was not too big. Dongbua Shuang's strength should be at least in the top 1,000 of the Dragon Mountain list, otherwise how could he struggle for so long? He still couldn't believe it. How old was Dongbua Shuang? He was too much of a genius. What was the result? Xian asked. Zhongling looked at the night sky and was silent for a moment before saying, Snow Eagle can't die, but I didn't expect that Xiang Pangyun is not a human, but a magical beast. A magical beast that can transform into a human? Xian's face changed. Sorcerer Temple. What Sorcerer Temple? Zhongling asked. You don't have to worry about this. Xian said. The rulers of this world were those powerful transcendents. There were many secrets that were not made public. As the Tower Master of the Dragon Mountain Manor, he was qualified to know some of these secrets. He was very clear that the Sorcerer God's palace had been able to fight against the entire human race since ancient times. The Sorcerer Temple had always sent magical beasts to infiltrate the human race. Fortunately, The cost of transforming a magical beast into a human was very high, so everything was still under control. What happened next? Lord Xian asked. Xiang Pangyun exposed himself and killed Dongbu Shuang. No. Zhongling continued. The snow eagle was sent flying out of Black Wind Cliff and was about to be swept into Black Wind Abyss. At this moment, Shuang threw out the short spear in midair. His entire body suddenly burst into flames, and the short spear turned into a meteor, instantly piercing into the body of the four-hooved beast that Xiang Pangyun had transformed into. 3 short spears in a row, each one piercing into his vitals. The four-hooved beast died on the spot. Fire? Killed by a short spear? Lord Xian was stunned. Myriad existences. All things transform. Snow Eagle has indeed grasped some of the profound mysteries of the fire laws of all things. Zhongling sighed. He was also a meteor rank expert and had a detailed understanding of the Dragon Mountain list. He knew what the realm of myriad existences represented. He's only 22 years old. Realm of myriad existences? Lord Xian was stunned. This caused a huge commotion. Such a peerless monster might only appear once every 100 years in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire. It was almost certain that he would become a transcendent. It can't be false, right? Lord Xian asked, because he knew that once this news was reported, it would certainly alarm the transcendents. Because the birth of a transcendent was not easy, and the number of transcendents in the entire empire was limited. How could it be false? If Snow Eagle hadn't killed that four-hooved beast, do you think we could still calmly stay in Snowrock Castle? Zhongling said, if you don't believe me, you can go ask Master Bai Yuanji and Master Si Chen. I'll definitely ask them again. Lord Xian nodded. He also believed that these people wouldn't dare to lie, because soon, a transcendent would personally come. In front of a transcendent, mortals would be very honest and tell them everything. What about Dongbu Shuang? Lord Xian continued to ask. Zhongling's eyes had a trace of sadness, but his voice was calm. He couldn't resist the power of the Black Wind Whirlpool and was swept into the Black Wind Abyss. Lord Xian was silent. When Dongbu Shuang was 15, Lord Xian got to know Dongbu Shuang. He could clearly remember that black-clothed teenager. At that time, there was a kind of sharpness in his bones. At that time, he felt that Dongbu Shuang would become an extraordinary person in the future. Only 6 years had passed, and the black-clothed teenager had grown taller. Although his aura was restrained, it was like a mountain that people couldn't shake. At this time, Lord Xian had received information from his superiors that Dongbu Shuang was a legend ranker. But what was the truth? He became even more dazzling, and fought with Xiang Pangyun. Finally, in a life-and-death situation, he revealed his true body and killed Xiang Pangyun with a short spear. At the age of 22, he had entered the top 50 of the Dragon Mountain list. So dazzling! So dazzling! He was almost destined to become a transcendent, but he had fallen. What a pity, what a pity! Lord Xian gently shook his head. He also felt that it was a pity. He was a core member of the Dragon Mountain Manor, so he understood what it meant to become a transcendent. It was a completely different level of life. No matter how powerful a legend ranker was, he was still a mortal. Between a transcendent and a transcendent, there was a huge gap. Of course, a pseudo-transcendent was not included. With a talent like Dongbu Shuang, as long as he was alive, he was almost destined to become a transcendent, a true transcendent. Then I won't bother you anymore. Lord Xian said, I still have to ask Bai Yuanji and the others. I'm afraid that our Water Rights town will be very lively these days. I'll send the Lord off. Zhongling sent Lord Xian out of the castle gate. He watched as Lord Xian and the others quickly rushed towards the great mage building. Zhongling saw a figure standing not far away. It was a petite girl named Ji Rong. Ji Rong stood there, looking delicate and lovely. You still haven't left? Zhongling's face turned ugly as he coldly scolded. I want to see Qingshi. Ji Rong said. Zhongling coldly snorted and turned to leave. Before falling into the Black Wind abyss, Dongbo Shuiying's last request was for his brother to leave Ji Rong. Zhongling would definitely stand on Dongbo Shuiying's side. Naturally, he didn't like Ji Rong. Castle, study room. Qing Shi sat on his brother's usual seat. Gently stroking the desk, he recalled the scenes of him growing up with his brother. His brother's love and care for him surpassed everything else. When he was young, his brother went to the mountain range of desolation regardless of the danger. He couldn't forget his brother's words. Unless I, Dongbo Shuiying, die, no one can hurt my brother. Not even you, Xiang Pangyun. At that time, Dongbo Shuiying held his spear and stood in front of Xiang Pangyun. These words still echoed in his ears. Qing Shi. Live well, don't let me down. As Dongbo Shuiying fell into the Black Wind whirlpool, he was still looking at him. Pa! Pa! The teardrop fell onto the desk and broke into pieces. When he lost her, it was too late for regrets. Brother, I believe you will come back. I will wait for you, I will wait for you. Qing Shi whispered, don't worry, I won't let you down. I'm Dongbo Shuiying's little brother, and my elder brother is the most outstanding genius under the heavens. I definitely won't let you down. Dong dong dong. Someone knocked on the door. Qing Shi. Zhongling's voice came from outside, that Ji Rong is still outside the castle. She wants to see you. Qing Shi stood up and opened the study room door. Zhongling was outside. Let's go. Qing Shi was very calm. Zhongling nodded. He had watched Qing Shi grow up. He knew that although Qing Shi was simple, he was a good kid. He believed in Qing Shi. That was why he came to tell Qing Shi to put an end to this. On the castle wall. Qing Shi stood on top of the city wall and looked down. Below him stood a lonely figure, Ji Rong. Qing Shi. Ji Rong looked up. Her eyes were filled with pain. What my brother said to me, is it true? Qing Shi's voice was cold. Ji Rong said, no, it's not true. I will ask again, is it true or not? Qing Shi looked down, his eyes were like blades, staring into Ji Rong's eyes. Being stared at like this, Ji Rong hesitated for a moment and said, Qing Shi, you don't believe me? Do you think I will believe you? Huh, because of you, I made my brother sad. Huh, how stupid am I? How funny. Ha ha ha. Qing Shi laughed crazily. Zhongling silently watched from the side. He knew that it was time for Qing Shi to vent. Scram! Qing Shi said coldly, my brother said that you must leave Snowrock Mountain tomorrow morning. From now on, you are forbidden from taking a step into Snowrock Mountain. Qing Shi, you really want? Ji Rong's eyes were filled with tears. Listen to my orders. Qing Shi directly ordered, tomorrow afternoon, if Miss Ji Rong is still in Snowrock Mountain, throw her down the mountain. Yes. All the patrolling soldiers and the guards below responded. Qing Shi then turned around and left. Qing Shi, Qing Shi. Ji Rong shouted, but could only watch as Qing Shi left the city wall. She could no longer see him. Ji Rong's face was ugly. Her heart was filled with anger and unwillingness. Dongbo Shuiying, damn it. You are about to die, yet you still want to ruin my good fortune. That night, Lord Xian quickly reported the news, and it was delivered to the Dragon Mountain Manor headquarters in the Tranquil Sun Province overnight. The Manor Lord did not dare to delay and immediately reported the news to the Tranquil Sun Province. At the same time, Master Sichen also sent the news back. The Xi clan could cover the sky with one hand in Azure River County. Such an important news, of course, had to be reported to ancestor Xi Lianghong as soon as possible. The extraordinary night was finally over. The next day, the sun rose. Black Wind Abyss. Who? Dongbo Shuiying, who had been meditating for the whole night, opened his eyes. The injuries on his body had completely healed. He got up and walked to the entrance of the cave. Now, it was dawn. Although the black wind vortex was blocking the sun in the sky, the whole valley was still brightly lit, and some plants and flowers could be seen. Compared to the valley bottom in the night, the valley bottom now was as beautiful as a fairyland. The mountain walls were mottled with moss, and the towering cave palace in the distance was emitting a faint green light. During the day, the palace emitted a faint green light. The light circulated, bringing with it an endless mystery. It's a pity that once I get close, I will be killed. Dongbua Shuang thought that God's envoy and Xiang Pangyun left behind a lot of food and water in the storage treasure. Now that I can absorb the energy of heaven and earth, I don't need much food. But I'm afraid I can only maintain this for a year. If I can't find a way out, I can only starve to death. Although it's dangerous, I must find a way out. Dongbua Shuang carefully observed the outside and pondered. Chapter 74. Hiding in the cave like a tortoise would only result in starvation. Since he had decided to search for a way out, that very morning, Dongbua Shuang quietly leapt into the cave and began to investigate. South Dongbua Shuang was agile, and with the assistance of the heaven and earth energy, every move he made was silent. I cannot get close to that mysterious cave palace. The security there is too tight. Even the weakest black-armored soldier would have a hard time dealing with it. Dongbua Shuang thought. The black-armored soldiers seemed to be stronger than Xiang Pangyun. Of course, now that he had reached the realm of myriad existences, his strength had increased to an extremely high level, allowing him to easily kill Xiang Pangyun. However, if he were to fight against the black-armored soldiers, victory or defeat was still uncertain. Even the weakest would not have the confidence to win, let alone the stronger guards. So. Silently, he turned his back on the cave palace and carefully explored the other areas of the Black Wind Abyss Valley. The Black Wind Abyss Valley was extremely vast. The widest part was over 10 li, and the narrowest part was 7 to 8 li. These are all weeds and moss. I don't know how many tens of thousands of years have passed since anyone came here. Dongbua Shuang walked and observed. Suddenly, he saw a huge crack in the ground in front of him. There were two cracks that intersected with each other. One of the cracks was about 3 to 4 meters wide, and the other one extended to an extremely far distance. Judging from the looks of it, the length of the crack was at least 20 to 30 li. The other crack was only 1 to 2 meters wide, and its length was only 5 to 6 li. However, the end of the crack extended to the walls of the valley, tearing out a huge wound. The wound was at least 100 meters deep, and it extended all the way to the black wind layer. These two cracks. Dongbua Shuang felt his heart palpitate. After all, he had reached the realm of myriad existences. He could clearly feel the terrifying baleful chi within the two cracks. It was cleaved open by a weapon. These two cracks were cleaved open by a weapon. Dongbua Shuang was instantly certain. He hurriedly walked to the side of the crack and looked down. With a single glance, the crack on the ground was pitch black and bottomless, but it was obvious that it was getting wider and wider. And it came from the depths of the earth. Dongbua Shuang immediately came to a conclusion based on the traces. The power of the attack is boundless, and it pierced through the ground all the way to the surface of the valley, leaving behind a 20 to 30 miles long crack on the ground. The moment he came to this conclusion, Dongbua Shuang's face turned pale. Oh my God! This was an attack that had been launched from underground. Just the remnant power of the attack had caused the ground to crack for 20 to 30 kilometers. Just how terrifying was this power? In other words, those towering mountains that were thousands of meters tall would probably be cleaved in half with a wave of a hand by such an expert. Even if it was a human city, it would probably be completely destroyed in a single strike. This kind of strength was simply unimaginable. He and Xiang Pangyun had fought on the peak of Snowrock Mountain for so long, but they had only destroyed some big rocks, trees, and rocks at the edge of the cliff. The entire peak of Snowrock Mountain remained unscathed. From this, one could see the gap between them. With his current strength, compared to such an expert, it was impossible. It was like comparing an ant to a dragon. Could this be the traces left behind by a transcendent? Dongbui Shuang pondered. No wonder in the legends, some powerful transcendents could drink wine with the gods, and even the gods feared them. With his and Xiang Pangyun's strength, they were far from being worthy of the attention of the gods. Pseudo-transcendents were not even worth mentioning. A true transcendent is this strong? Dongbui Shuang did not dare to believe it. His understanding of transcendence was too little. Most of his knowledge was from the legends. For example, the mystic ice spear technique had a very brief description, and only mentioned some methods to become a transcendent. As for what would happen after becoming a transcendent, it did not mention anything. What would happen after becoming a transcendent? He did not know. Because there were too few transcendents, it was very difficult for mortals to meet one. The moment a transcendent appeared in a place, places like Dragon Mountain Manor would immediately warn the surrounding families, telling them to hide their heads and not to offend a transcendent. If they did, their entire family would be finished. Even the Si family, even the Mo Yang family which had a pseudo-transcendent in front of a true transcendent, they would tremble with fear. With this kind of strength, even among transcendents, he should be standing at an extremely high position. Dongbui Shuang thought. Just as Shuang was carefully observing this crack and experiencing the frightening sharpness and killing intent within, black fog began to appear in almost every corner of the Black Wind Abyss Valley. Every 5 kilometers, this black fog rapidly condensed into a black armored soldier. Similarly, about 5 to 6 miles away from Dongbui Shuang, the black fog condensed into a black armored soldier. The black armored soldier wore a mask, and his eyes glowed red as he casually scanned his surroundings. Every day, the entire bottom of the valley had to be swept once. This was the rule set by the owner of the cave palace. Although the owner of the cave palace had been dead for a very, very long time, and tens of thousands of years had passed, this place had always been maintained and had never changed. Outsider. The moment the black armored soldier appeared, there was always a layer of red light in his eyes, blurring his vision of the outside world. However, he was still able to see Dongbui Shuang who was standing in the distance. Xiao! The black armored soldier landed on the ground, and turned into a ray of light as he charged towards Dongbui Shuang. Dongbui Shuang observed the crack, and at the same time, he spread the heaven and earth energy around him. He was also vigilant towards the direction of the cave palace. If there was any movement, he would immediately flee like a bird startled by the mere twang of a bowstring. Eh! Dongbui Shuang's ears twitched, and he turned his head abruptly. Behind him, a black armored soldier was flying towards him. It was less than a mile away from him. A distance of 300 to 400 meters was nothing for people at their level. Why would a black armored soldier suddenly appear? Dongbui Shuang was shocked. I knew there would be something strange about a transcendence place. I've already been very careful. It was already too late to hide now. I have to kill it as soon as possible. The commotion caused by the battle is huge, and if time drags on, more black armored soldiers and even stronger guards would appear. The Feishua God spear appeared in Dongbui Shuang's hands. He stood at his original position and watched as the black armored soldier charged towards him. Boom! The spear suddenly pierced out. It was like a flaming meteor. Who? A series of flaming spear shadows pierced towards the black armored soldier. The black armored soldier held a black saber in his hand. Dang, dang, dang. In the blink of an eye, the black armored soldier's entire body was covered in black fog. Even his arms were covered in black fog, and his movements were unpredictable. So fast. Without any hesitation, Dongbui Shuang changed his spear technique, from speed to strength. Boom! The spear that was originally piercing out furiously suddenly changed into a sideways sweep. All the strength in his body burst forth, and his power bloodline was activated. The spear was imbued with the might of flames, and as it swept out in a huge arc, the power accumulated continuously. The black armored soldier coldly blocked with his saber. A loud sound rang out. The black-armored soldier's body trembled violently. The black fog around his body started to dissipate, and his body started to become blurry. Seeing this, Shuang immediately lashed out 2 more times. Peng peng, peng, the spear struck the body of the black-armored soldier. Finally, the black-armored soldier was struck until it dissipated, turning into a black fog before disappearing. In front of the cave palace. Other than the large number of black-armored soldiers, there were other powerful guards as well. One of them, who was wielding a huge sword and wearing luxurious armor, suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes shone with a silver light. Boom! He suddenly transformed into a black beam of light and streaked across the sky, flying towards Dongbui Shuang at a terrifying speed. Although the distance between them was close to 100 li, the black beam of light was too fast. In the blink of an eye, it had already traversed over 10 li. Dongbui Shuang had been paying attention to the direction of the cave palace. After defeating the black-armored soldier, he naturally saw the black beam of light flying towards him at a high speed. Flying in the sky. Amongst humans, only transcendents could truly fly in the sky and burrow into the ground. As for legend rankers who relied on the energy of the world, or mages who relied on spells, their flying speed was too slow. They couldn't even compare to those flying beasts. On the other hand, the flying speed of transcendence was truly frightening. Seeing that black beam of light, Dongbui Shuang felt a sense of fear. They were not on the same level at all. There's nowhere to run. Dongbui Shuang looked at the huge crack beneath his feet. He had been curious since the beginning. That powerful transcendent was able to create such a huge crack underground. Clearly, there should be a battlefield deep underground. Previously, he had been cautiously thinking of a way to explore it. I can't care anymore. Dongbui Shuang held onto the Feishui god's spear and directly leaped down. Chapter 75. Very soon. The black ray of light landed on the ground beside the fissure. The silver-eyed armored guard lowered its head and looked at the fissure coldly. There was not a single trace of emotion in its eyes. After observing for a moment, it held onto its gigantic sword and stood guard. Back then, the owner of the cave abode had left an order for them to patrol within a certain range. If the intruder was not within the range, they would not chase after him. Hoo-hoo! Accompanied by the sound of the wind, Dongbui Shuang descended rapidly. His entire body was bathed in flames, illuminating the underground fissure. Peng, he landed. Dongbui Shuang looked in front of him. The underground fissure was extending towards the direction of the cave abode. Could the battle have taken place in the cave abode? Dongbui Shuang immediately sprinted in that direction. His speed was extremely fast. After sprinting for a moment, he looked behind him and heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, the guard did not chase after me. Following the path of the underground fissure, he sprinted all the way. Finally, he stopped. Dongbui Shuang looked in front of him. There was a silver-white wall in front of him. The wall was like a silver-white crystal jade, and it was extremely eye-catching among the rocks. However, there was a huge wound on the wall. The wound was at least 7 to 8 meters wide, and there were still remnants of baleful aura on it. The baleful aura caused even Dongbui Shuang to feel slightly fearful. This baleful aura, even after tens of thousands of years, was still able to cause Dongbui Shuang to feel pressured. It seems that the unimaginable battle that happened that year took place in this underground structure. An extremely powerful existence fiercely hacked out, splitting apart the walls, tearing apart the underground rock and earth, and piercing through more than 50 kilometers before finally appearing on the surface of the valley, leaving behind an enormous crack of 20 to 30 kilometers. Shuang inwardly nodded. This caused him to be even more shocked. The underground was filled with rocks and soil, and a single strike pierced through over 100 miles. Oh my God! It was not an exaggeration to say that it could destroy the heavens and earth. Outside the silver-white wall, he hesitated for a moment. I have no choice. Going to the Blackwind Abyss Valley is a dead end. Dongbui Shuang knew that there might be danger lurking within the silver-white walls, but at the same time, there might also be surprises waiting for him. I can only give it a try. He held the Feishua divine spear in his hand. Flames surrounded the surface of his body, and the power of heaven and earth spread out. Dongbui Shuang walked through the crack in the wall. Woo! The moment he entered, Dongbui Shuaying's eyes lit up. In front of him was a huge hall that was over 300 meters tall. The hall was incomparably majestic, and it was at least 2 li wide. Such a large hall was indeed shocking. However, the huge pillars were either broken or collapsed. Many places in the hall were in ruins, and the sturdy silvery white floor was covered with hideous wounds. On the silvery white wall in the distance, there were more than 10 crisscrossing cracks. He had just entered from one of the cracks. A terrifying battle must have taken place here. Dongbui Shuang exclaimed as he looked around the hall. The hall was very spacious, and he could see everything with a single glance. However, Dongbui Shuang could not find a single door. There were no doors that led to the entrance or other places. The entire hall was completely sealed. Furthermore, even though the hall was in ruins, there were no unique items left on the floor. It seems like in that battle, at least one side survived and cleaned up this hall. Dongbui Shuang mumbled to himself, how did they enter this hall, and how did they leave? It can't be that they entered through the crack like I did, right? There must be something that I haven't discovered. Dongbui Shuang was unwilling to give up. He did not want to starve to death in the Black Wind Abyss. He wanted to leave this place alive. Walking in the hall, Dongbui Shuang observed his surroundings carefully. At the same time, he activated the power of heaven and earth to scan his surroundings carefully. His inspection was slow and meticulous. Long after the time taken to brew a cup of tea, when the power of heaven and earth swept across an empty space in the corner of the hall, a ripple suddenly appeared on the empty space. Something's wrong. Dongbui Shuang revealed a joyful expression. With a flip of his hand, a silver coin appeared in his hand. Show! The silver coin was tossed out, and it turned into a ray of light that shot towards the ripple. The ripple trembled, and like a bubble, it instantly burst open, revealing the scene within. The scene within 100 meters changed drastically. There was a stone bed, and on the stone bed, a skeleton sat cross-legged. The skeleton was faintly glowing with an icy blue color, and it was wearing a silver robe. In front of the stone bed, there was an octagonal pool. There was a crystal-clear liquid flowing within the pool, and it was surrounded by a faint mist. Around the pool, there were countless runes of arrays that were constantly being maintained by the power of heaven and earth. On both sides of the pool, there were 2 statues of golden beasts. Both of them were 20 meters tall. One of the golden beasts was in the form of an ape, and its body was wrapped in chains. The other golden beast was in the form of a golden rock. Refiner organisms? With Dongbui Shuaying's eyesight, he could tell that these 2 golden beasts were extraordinary with a single glance. That one has been dead for an unknown period of time, but its skeleton is still glowing with an icy blue color. This strange phenomenon. I'm afraid that it was a transcendent who died. It was impossible for a normal mortal's corpse to have such a strange phenomenon. I wonder if this refiner organism can still move. Dongbui Shuang pondered. Refiner organisms required energy to move. Once they ran out of energy, they wouldn't be able to move. But for a refiner organism left behind by a transcendent expert, Dongbui Shuang wasn't confident. So. Dongbui Shuang swiftly moved away, until he reached the entrance of the crack. Show! Then, he tossed out a silver coin. The silver coin turned into a streak of fiery light as it traversed more than 500 meters, accurately hitting the golden ape-like statue. Suddenly, the golden ape-like statue opened its eyes without any warning. Its eyes glowed with a golden light, and it reached out its hand and grabbed the incoming silver coin as fast as lightning. Chi. The silver coin completely turned into powder as it flowed out of the cracks in its hand. The golden ape-like creature scanned its surroundings and saw Dongbui Shuang at the entrance of the crack. It roared, "Mortal, don't disturb my master." Dongbua Shuang revealed a hint of joy. It can speak? A refiner organism left behind by a transcendent expert was indeed different. It could even speak. The silver coin I tossed out didn't even touch it, but it woke up and grabbed the silver coin. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. Seems like it would wake up if I attacked it within a certain range. Also, judging from the speed at which it grabbed the gold coin, it doesn't seem too strong. The silver coin was not a suitable hidden weapon. He was only using it to probe the refiner organism. After flying for 500 meters, the silver coin's power had weakened. It wasn't difficult for him to grab it with his hand. Judging from the speed at which it grabbed the gold coin, it shouldn't be much faster than me. Also, I don't feel any pressure from its aura now that it has woken up. Dongbua Shuang was looking forward to it. Just like when he fell from the Black Wind Abyss, he saw a huge black dragon-like creature. With just a glance, his heart trembled and his legs turned to jelly. The two golden refiner organisms in front of him didn't seem to be invincible. Perhaps I might be able to obtain some of the items left behind by that transcendent expert. From there, I might be able to find a way out. Dongbua Shuang couldn't hide his excitement. Since the other party was here, there should be a way out. Let's try again. Dongbua Shuang flipped his hand and a short spear appeared in it. The power of the short spear and the silver coin was on a completely different level. Ha! Dongbua Shuang leaned back and activated his bloodline of power. A trace of the profound mystery of fire was infused into the spear, causing the power of the short spear to increase. Boom! The short spear instantly tore through the air, emitting an ear-piercing sound. In an instant, it traversed 500 meters and arrived in front of the golden ape. Pang! The golden ape furiously slapped out with its palm. A loud sound rang out as the short spear was slammed into the ground. The golden ape also took a step back, causing a look of shock and anger to appear on its face. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha, the difference isn't that big. Dongbua Shuaying's eyes lit up. Chapter 76. So. Dongbua Shuaying's speed was extremely fast. In just a few flashes, he had already closed in on the golden ape. However, his speed had also started to slow down. Mortal, get lost obediently. The golden ape bared its teeth and threatened. Ultimately, refiner organisms are not real living beings. They have to obey their master's orders. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. The fact that these two refiner organisms had waited obediently for so long after their master's death showed that their master had given them strict orders. Dongbua Shuang was getting closer. The golden ape still did not attack. Who? When Shuang took a step into the area enveloped by the ripples, the golden ape immediately roared and rushed forward with large strides. Dongbua Shuang immediately took a step back. The golden ape also stopped and stared angrily at Dongbua Shuang. Boundary? Dongbua Shuang laughed as he looked at the boundary of the ripples. Didn't your master order you to attack as long as you enter the boundary? You're not going to attack just because I'm outside the boundary? The golden ape roared, Mortal, so what if you know about it? You better get lost obediently. Dongbua Shuang was in a good mood. He thought that he would have to test it a few more times before he could confirm the order that the Transcendent had given to the refiner organism. He did not expect that he would be able to confirm the boundaries so quickly. Then, take this. Dongbua Shuang wielded the Feishua godly spear and in a flash, he entered the boundary. The spear turned into a stream of flames and pierced towards the golden ape. The surrounding flames engulfed the golden ape completely. Even though the flames of the heaven and earth could suppress the golden ape did not seem to care at all. Mortal, prepare to die. The golden ape waved its huge palm and slammed down. As for Dongbua Shuaying's spear, it completely ignored it. Pooh! The spear pierced through the golden ape's knee, leaving only a white mark on its knee. As an alchemy creature, its body was extremely tough. Even if Dongbua Shuang was 10 times stronger, it would still be difficult for him to damage its body. Boom! The huge palm slapped down, and Dongbua Shuang hurriedly dodged it. The defense of transcendent alchemy creatures is too strong. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. Since I can't pierce through it, I can only rely on brute force. Thankfully, it's not as agile as me. In the instant they exchanged blows, they were able to determine each other's strengths and weaknesses. Bam bam bam. Dongbua Shuang, who was bathed in flames, moved around the golden ape like a specter, dodging its attacks time and time again. At the same time, he swung the spear in his hand with all his might. He exerted his strength to the extreme. When he whipped and swept, he focused on certain joints, such as the knee joints and ankle joints. Alchemy creatures could be flexible in battle, but their joints were also complicated, so they were weak in terms of confrontation. When the golden ape's joints were hit, it would occasionally stumble. However, it remained completely unharmed, and continued to slap down with its huge palm. Monkey, you can't even deal with a mortal? Looks like I still have to do it. The golden rock, who had been like a statue all this while, suddenly opened its eyes as well. Its golden eyes swept across the golden ape. Just watch. The golden ape was enraged. With one hand, it grabbed the chain that was coiled around its body. Clatter clatter clatter, the chain flew out and lashed out fiercely. Ah! Dongbua Shuang was shocked. The chain whizzed towards him like a phantom, and Dongbua Shuang instantly pierced out with his spear, piercing one of the links of the chain. However, the chain instantly coiled around the spear. It even knows how to use chains. These chains are quite powerful in the hands of this ape. Fortunately, its moves are simple. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to fight it. Dongbua Shuaying's expression changed slightly. He was immediately forced to be careful. He waved the chain around, increasing the range of the golden ape's attacks. Dongbua Shuang also had a hard time dodging the golden ape's attacks. Even though the golden ape's strength wasn't too ridiculous, it was still stronger than him. The golden ape's strength was a notch higher, and its defense was invincible. In addition, the chain was extremely strange. For a moment, Dongbua Shuang was having a hard time dealing with the golden ape. However, with his agility, he was able to hold on. A mere mortal can fight for so long. The golden rock swooped down. It was so fast that it turned into an afterimage. Dongbua Shuang was shocked. So fast. The golden ape's wings whizzed past, and they were like sharp blades. Dongbua Shuang hurriedly used his spear to block, but the golden ape's wings collided with the spear's body. Pang! A sound of impact could be heard, and Dongbo's entire body flew backwards. At this moment, a strange and unfathomable shackle came flying over with a whoosh, trying to bind Shuang. Dang! In midair, Dongbua Shuang stabbed out with his spear, changing the direction of the chain. He then landed on the ground and took 3 steps back. Naturally, he was already out of the boundary. Dongbua Shuang looked at the golden ape and golden rock in the distance. For a moment, he was vexed. In terms of strength, the golden ape is actually above me. Its only weakness is its agility. Even I find it difficult to fight against it. But the golden rock's speed far surpasses mine. With the two of them working together, there's no way I can fight against it. With the two of them working together, he would only end up being trampled. Haha, mortal, I admit that you have some strength. However, you're still far from being able to defeat the two of us. That spear of yours can only scratch an itch for me. The golden ape laughed gleefully. Humph, the golden rock didn't speak much. No hurry, I still have enough time. Dongbua Shuang was very calm. My body is constantly getting stronger, and my dou qi is also improving. When my body reaches its limit, I'm afraid that my strength will increase by a lot. At that time, I'll try to fight against these two transcendent refiner organisms. Water Rights Town. While Dongbua Shuang was fighting against the two transcendent refiner organisms, Ji Rong had returned to her home in Water Rights Town. She was chased out of Snowrock Mountain early in the morning. Rong, why are you back? Ji Wuhai and his wife were by his daughter's side. Damn Dongbui Shuang! Ji Rong's face was gloomy, and her eyes were filled with an ominous glint. It had been a long time since she had been so unlucky. Those who had bullied her and looked down on her, she had ruthlessly taken revenge on them. In Snowrock Mountain, she was even more pampered. After all, she was a little beauty second only to Yu Yu. Dongbui Shuang. Ji Wuhai was somewhat puzzled. What happened? Did you find out about Dongbui's family's secret? Nope. Ji Rong coldly replied, the wealth of Dongbui's family is not important. The most important thing is, this Dongbui Shuang is an extremely powerful legend ranker. Just last night, he and Xiang Pangyun perished together at Black Wind Cliff. Perished together with Xiang Pangyun? Ji Wuhai and his wife were both shocked. Oh my god. Although the two of them had come into contact with some strong experts, Xiang Pangyun was the #1 expert in the entire Azure River County. How old was Dongbui Shuang? How could he be comparable to Xiang Pangyun? He is a legend ranker. This kind of big matter must be reported to the law protector. Ji Wuhai said. Dongbui Shuang is dead. He must have left a lot of treasures for Qingshi. Ji Rong was somewhat angry and unwilling. I originally wanted to stay by Qingshi's side. At that time, it would be too easy to get those treasures. But I did not expect that before Dongbui Shuang fell into Black Wind Abyss, he actually expelled me from Snowrock Mountain and told Qingshi not to be with me. So many treasures if we get them and offer them to the law protector, our family's contribution will be huge. The great god will also give us more. Ji Rong's eyes were filled with anger and unwillingness. This matter is very important. Quickly report to the law protector. Ji Wuhai said, the sooner the better. At this time, on the street outside the Ji family's mansion, a large group of knights had already arrived. The leader of the Dragon Mountain Manor, Lord Xian, was at the front. Lord, I have been watching. Ji Rong has just returned home. A scout reported. Lord Xian nodded lightly. With Dongbui Shuaying's talent, he will definitely alert the Transcendents. Everything must be done beautifully. This Ji family is suspected to be a follower of the demon god. Although we have not confirmed it, at least they have committed a lot of crimes. Capture them all first, to prevent this Ji family from informing the demon god's followers and causing more trouble. Lord is wise. You too, who was at the side, praised. They had already sent people to keep watch. As soon as Ji Rong returned home, they would immediately capture her. Go in and capture the entire Ji family, including the servants. Don't let a single one of them go. There might be some demon god's followers among these servants. Lord Xian ordered. Yes. Boom. A large number of soldiers quickly surrounded the mansion. The two guards at the entrance of the Ji clan's mansion were still somewhat afraid and panicked, but they didn't dare to resist at all. The knights directly rushed over and kicked open the door. Rumble, a large group of knights and soldiers rushed into the Ji clan's mansion. Chapter 77. On the wide street of Azure River County, an ordinary-looking carriage was slowly moving forward. Inside the carriage, Cui Jinpeng was wrapped in a black robe. His face was gloomy and his eyes flashed with killing intent. Bloodshed Tavern, you are so famous, yet you are so dishonest. Cui Jinpeng gritted his teeth. Forget about not completing the mission. But to kill that Dongbui Qingshi, you actually want me to post a second bounty? He went to Bloodshed Tavern early in the morning to wait for the results of the mission. Bloodshed Tavern replied, Dongbui Shuaying's strength far exceeded our expectations. The assassins we sent out suffered heavy losses. This mission is dismissed. Dismissed? What about the bounty? Not retreating. Cui Jinpeng was furious. How could he know that Bloodshed Tavern was also very dissatisfied? This mission was too disadvantageous for them. 3 Silver Moon assassins had died, but Wind Demon had also died. Xiang Pangyun had also died. Xiang Pangyun was a demonic beast that had transformed into a human. His death was fine, but the most important thing was that Dongbu Shuang was already so amazing at the age of 22. Such a talent would definitely become a transcendent in the future. For such a monstrous talent, Bloodshed Tavern did not want gold coins. What they wanted was a more precious transcendent item. This mission was too disadvantageous. How much is the bounty for Dongbu Qingshi? Cui Jinpeng asked. Bloodshed Tavern replied, now that Snowrock Castle has attracted the attention of a transcendent, 1 month to assassinate Dongbu Qingshi will require 1 million gold coins. 1 month later, to assassinate Dongbu Qingshi will require 500,000 gold coins. Cui Jinpeng turned around and left. 1 month later, assassinating Dongbu Qingshi will require 500,000 gold coins. Cui Jinpeng was about to go crazy in the carriage. Bloodshed Tavern is so greedy. They only know how to ask for money. He did not have much money left. The previous bounty had almost depleted his savings. It's just a weak mage. If that's the case, I can only personally bring some assassins. Cui Jinpeng gritted his teeth. As the leader of the county city's underworld, he naturally had his own assassins. Previously, he had only invited the Bloodshed Tavern because he had a 100% chance of success. Who would have thought that this would be the result? In fact, he didn't know that he had already gained a lot. Because of his measly 1 million gold coins, Wind Demon, Xiang Pangyun, and Dongbu Shuang had fallen into the Black Wind Abyss. Even transcendent experts were alerted. Lulu, the carriage suddenly stopped, causing Cui Jinpeng's expression to change slightly. He shouted, "Why did you stop?" Wild Cui. A hoarse voice came from outside. "Come out." Cui Jinpeng's expression changed as he hurriedly opened the carriage door. With a glance, he saw 3 black-robed figures in front of the carriage. The leader was a black-robed old man with grizzled hair and a pair of golden teeth. His eyes were cold. "Ah, Head Butler Lu." Cui Jinpeng immediately got off the car in a flattering manner. The white-haired old man swept a cold glance at them. "Capture them and take them away." "Head Butler Lu, what's going on?" Cui Jinpeng was somewhat at a loss, but he didn't dare to resist. He allowed the 2 black-robed men to shackle his arms, because he knew very well that this Head Butler Lu was the personal head butler of the Xi clan's ancestor, Xi Lianghong. His status was extremely high. The reason why he, Cui Jinpeng, was able to become the leader of the county city's underworld was because of Xi Lianghong's approval. "Master wants to see you," Head Butler Lu said, but didn't say anything else. "Ancestor?" Cui Jinpeng's face was somewhat pale. A moment later. In a garden, Cui Jinpeng saw the Xi clan's ancestor. "Ancestor." Cui Jinpeng timidly knelt down. Xi Lianghong. Although she had lived for many years, her appearance was rather beautiful. She was like an enchanting beauty. She wore a blood-red robe, and her hair was also blood-red. Her skin was fair. Anyone who saw her couldn't help but feel an impulse. After all, she had the blood demon body, so she naturally had some charm. "Just because of you." Xi Lianghong looked at Cui Jinpeng. "Just because of a small fry like you, Xiang Pangyun, who was sent by the sorcerer god's temple to infiltrate this place, died? And even the monstrous genius Dongbu Shuang, who was destined to become a transcendent, fell into the Black Wind Abyss and died. The affairs of the world are unpredictable. A small fry and 2 powerful people are dead just like that." Xi Lianghong sighed. Her Xi clan was the absolute overlord of the Azure River County, covering the sky with one hand. Even in some of the filthy underworld, they still had a large number of spies. This Cui Jinpeng was known as the Xi clan's loyal dog. Even when the Xi clan placed spies in his mansion, he didn't dare to have a trace of objection. Thus, the death of his child, Cui Hu, was quickly known by the Xi clan. They even knew that Cui Jinpeng had been to the Bloodshed Tavern. Many heroes and outstanding people would sometimes fall because of a small fry. Si Liang Hong sighed, "All right, old Lu, I've seen him. Take him away and deal with him. Clean him up." "Yes." Butler Lu said respectfully. Ancestor, I'm loyal and devoted to the Si clan." Cui Jinpeng immediately cried out in fear. Si Liang Hong was too lazy to even look at him. Because she knew that a transcendent would come this time. Thus, the cause of this matter, the transcendent would definitely want to understand clearly. As the cause of this matter was Cui Jinpeng, she wanted to prevent Cui Jinpeng from speaking carelessly. It was better to deal with this matter as soon as possible. Moreover, this matter had nothing to do with the Si clan. It was Cui Jinpeng's own idea. A monstrous genius who was almost certain to step into the transcendent realm died just like that. Although the Sorcerer's Temple lost a chess piece, it was still a huge gain. Si Liang Hong was slightly nervous. This time, the Transcendent will definitely be furious. The Azure River County is under the control of my Si clan. I hope he won't take his anger out on my Si clan. Among the mortals, the Si clan was an overlord. But in front of a Transcendent? But it could be destroyed with a wave of his hand. On the same day, Si Liang Hong rushed to the Black Wind Cliff of the Azure River County and personally waited there. Out of her expectations, she had to wait for the third day before the Transcendents finally arrived. Si La, in the sky above the Black Wind Cliff, the sun shone brightly. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the space and a figure stepped out from it. Si Liang Hong had been sitting cross-legged on the Black Wind Cliff. Her surroundings were maintained by a spell, isolating her from the violent winds. Sensing the spatial fluctuation, she raised her head and looked up. Immediately, she revealed a shocked expression and stood up respectfully. "Greetings, Lord Eternal Wind." The person who came was the strongest transcendent in the entire Tranquil Sun province, Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qibai. Si Liang Hong was very nervous. "I thought it was another transcendent. Never did I expect it to be the Eternal Wind Knight." This matter actually alarmed such a terrifying existence. "I heard that you have already executed Cui Jinpeng." Qiu Qibai's appearance could be considered quite handsome. With his white hair fluttering, he stood in mid-air in a green robe. "Yes." Si Liang Hong respectfully replied, "The cause of this matter was because Cui Jinpeng had issued a bounty mission. I already know the ins and outs of the matter." Qiu Qibai took a step forward and stood above the Black Wind abyss. The violent black winds were temporarily suppressed and dissipated. Looking down, he could faintly see a terrifying energy surging in the depths of the Black Wind abyss, blocking his line of sight. It was impossible for him to see what was in the depths of the Black Wind abyss. "Sigh, it's rare for a new transcendent to be born in my Tranquil Sun province, but he was killed by a bastard from the Sorcerer God Palace. It's really not worth it." Qiu Qibai lightly shook his head. "You can leave first." "Yes." Si Liang Hong knew that she had passed this hurdle. Obviously, Qiu Qibai would not vent his anger on her. She immediately retreated and leaped down the Black Wind Cliff. Qiu Qibai stood above the Black Wind abyss. An invisible force was suppressing the area below. Qiu Qibai. Amidst the surging energy, a blurry and huge figure suddenly appeared. Following that, a black dragon head appeared. The huge black dragon head looked at Qiu Qibai, who was standing in mid-air. "Why? You're not satisfied with your previous defeat and want to try again? I've said it before. If you want to conquer this place, you're still not strong enough. You'd better go back and cultivate." There was a mortal who fell down. "Is he still alive?" Qiu Qibai asked. "Oh, there was a mortal young man." With a whoosh, he fell down. Perhaps he fell to his death. The black dragon head said, "I'm just the first guardian. Master's Cave Palace will naturally be guarded by even stronger guardians. I can't control the bottom of the valley, nor can I control the cave palace." Qiu Qibai looked down and sighed. This time, the matter regarding Dongbui Shuang was immediately reported to the Transcendents. However, the Black Wind Abyss was a headache even for Transcendents. In the end, it was still reported to Qiu Qibai. That was why it was delayed for 2 to 3 days before Qiu Qibai personally rushed over. If he's still alive, please help me send him out. Qiu Qibai said. You're quite polite. The black dragon head laughed. If I see him, I'll send him out. After all, he's just a mortal. Master's orders are mainly for transcendence. Qiu Qibai secretly shook his head. The Black Wind Abyss used to be very mysterious. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, an existence who had successfully become a deity had entered the Black Wind Abyss to explore. Only then did the transcendence of the human world know that the Black Wind Abyss was a cave palace left behind by an extremely powerful expert. Only a transcendent expert who completely defeated all the guardians would have the qualifications to obtain the treasures left behind by this senior. Although that deity, including the Dragon Mountain Emperor, had entered to take a look, they didn't forcefully snatch it. Firstly, forcefully snatching it might result in self-destruction. Secondly, they had already become deities. In their respective eras, they had established a unified empire. They were all invincible existences in the human world at that time. Therefore, they didn't have any greed towards the treasures. What a pity. Qiu Qibai lightly shook his head. He also felt that Dongbush Shuang was doomed. If he's still alive, our Tranquil Sun province will have another transcendent in the future. Furthermore, looking at his talent, it would only appear once every 100 years in the entire world. He might even be able to go further among the transcendents. What a pity, what a pity. Qiu Qibai, continue to cultivate. I have high hopes for you. Perhaps in the future, you will have a chance to obtain the treasures left behind by my master. However, the current you is still far from that. The black dragon head below laughed. Farewell. Qiu Qibai turned and left. Rip. A crack appeared in the space. Qiu Qibai directly stepped into the crack and disappeared. Chapter 78. The news of Dongbush Shuang and Xiang Pangyun fighting for hundreds of miles and dying together at the Black Wind Cliff spread like wildfire. This sensational news spread like wildfire. Of course, the secret that Xiang Pangyun was a demonic beast was kept a secret. How many years has it been since our water rights town produced such an amazing expert? He's only 22 years old, yet he was able to fight the legendary Xiang Pangyun to a stalemate. They fought for hundreds of miles and finally died together. An old man in the tavern shook his head in grief. Such a talent, in the future, he would definitely become a legendary transcendent. Such a pity, to fall like this. Just thinking about it makes my heart ache. Old man's song, who is Xiang Pangyun? Someone suddenly shouted. Truly ignorant. The old man sneered, too lazy to say anything more. Xiang Pangyun is the #1 expert in the entire Azure River County. He's even stronger than the Sea Clan's ancestor who has lived for hundreds of years. It is said that he's only a step away from becoming a transcendent. Even if Dongbush Shuang started cultivating when he was in his mother's womb, he's only cultivated for 22 years, yet he was able to fight evenly with Xiang Pangyun and even perish together. Don't you think that Dongbush Shuang is amazing? Our water rights town is such a small place. How many tens of thousands of years would it be hard for such a person to appear? The news of this battle spread like wildfire in the Azure River County. Even other places in the Tranquil Sun province, and even other provinces, would occasionally discuss about it. Even though the news spread did not mention that Shuang had grasped hold of the realm of myriad existences, and that he could perish together with Xiang Pangyun, and that he was so young, he could be considered a monster in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire. Eastfield Province, Thunder Tide Shore. Rumble, the seawater crashed over and over again, creating countless snow-white waves. On the Thunder Tide Shore, there were many caves with locked doors. These caves were used to imprison some of the Mo Yang clan's prisoners. Only those with special identities would be locked up for long periods of time. Clang! A heavy door opened, and a maidservant went in to deliver food and drinks. The Thunder Tide shore was a forbidden area, and there was a spell formation around it. There was no need to worry about the criminals escaping. In the dark cave, a purple-robed woman was standing in front of a smooth stone wall. She had a carving knife in her hand, and she was easily carving a spell model on the stone wall. She was frowning and thinking hard. Because she was in confinement, she didn't have good experimental conditions, and she didn't have many papers and pens. She only had a carving knife with her brother's help. The spell models carved on the stone walls were just references. Most of the calculations were deduced and analyzed in her mind. Although Emo Yang Yu was in confinement, she was able to concentrate on comprehending magic techniques. "Madam." The maid put down the food and said softly. Emo Yang Yu turned her head and looked at the maid. "Why are you still here? Is there something?" Usually, the maid would quietly leave after putting down the food. "A lord has asked me to pass on a message," the maid said. "Milord?" Emo Yang Yu frowned. "Who?" "Lord Emo Yang Chenbai." The maid said. What message does he want to pass on?" "I want to hear it." Emo Yang Yu sneered. The maid took a deep breath and said, "Lord Emo Yang Chenbai said. Emo Yang Yu, you have given birth to an extraordinary son. He is only 22 years old, but he was able to fight with the #1 expert of Azure River County, Xiang Pangyun. The two of them fought for hundreds of miles, and finally, both of them perished at Black Wind Cliff. To have such a son, I have to congratulate you." The maid was slightly nervous. "Madam, I will take my leave." She was just a little maid. Emo Yang Chenbai had ordered her to pass on a message, so how could she dare to refuse? Emo Yang Yu stood there motionlessly, but tears flowed down her cheeks. "Wait a moment." Emo Yang Yu suddenly shouted. The maid who was on her way out stopped. "Tell me, is what he said true?" Emo Yang Yu couldn't help but ask. The maid quickly replied, "Reporting to Madam, it is indeed true. The battle between Dongbo Shuaiying and Xiang Pangyun is now a hot topic in the Emo Yang clan. There are also many people who say that if we had brought Dongbo Shuaiying back, our Emo Yang clan would have become even more powerful. This news is already from 3 months ago." Emo Yang Yu lightly waved her hand, and the maid respectfully retreated. After the maid left, the heavy door closed once again. Emo Yang Yu's body went limp as she sat on the ground. Her hands clutched the ground, and her fingers turned white. She said in a trembling voice, "Snow Eagle, I have let you down, I have let you down, my son." In Emo Yang Yu's mind, there was only the scene of their separation that year. Her eldest son, Dongbo Shuaiying, was holding the hand of her youngest son, Qingshi, as they stood at the entrance of the castle. "Father, Mother, I, Dongbo Shuaiying, swear. I will definitely save you and bring you back. Our family will definitely be reunited, definitely. I swear. I swear, I will definitely save you. No one will be able to stop me." Her son's tender voice seemed to still be ringing in her ears. Emo Yang Yu's face was already full of tears, and her body was trembling. "Snow Eagle, my son, why did it become like this? Why, East Fragrant Lake Refinery, inside the Mage Tower. Dongbo Lai, quick, move all these away." In a laboratory room, there was a pile of charred waste, and a young male mage shouted loudly. "Coming, coming." Dongbo Lai was wearing a somewhat tattered cloth, and very skillfully started to clean up the mess. "Dongbo Lai, Emo Yang Chenbai asked me to tell you a piece of news." The young male mage said, "It's about your son, Dongbo Shuaiying." "Snow Eagle?" Dongbo Lai's body trembled. "Your son, Dongbo Shuaiying, is really amazing. He fought a life-and-death battle with Xiang Pangyun, from Snowrock Mountain all the way to Black Wind Cliff. They fought for more than 100 miles, and finally died together." The young male mage said as he turned around and walked out, "Speaking of which, I really admire your son, he is really amazing. Unfortunately, he died too early. Oh right, remember to clean up this place." Dongbo Lai felt that everything around him had lost its color, and unconsciously, the mess in his hands fell to the ground. He was stunned, and his body slightly trembled. Eternal Wind Academy. Jing Qiu, who had been in seclusion for more than a month, walked out of her own mage tower. Breathing the outside air, her face was full of smiles. In the sea of mages, every time she broke through a difficulty, she would feel joy and a sense of accomplishment from the bottom of her heart. This is really embarrassing. It's embarrassing, the whole academy has so many students and teachers, but they were all reprimanded by the Eternal Wind Academy. Two female mages walked side by side. A slightly plump female mage muttered, "They say that our entire Eternal Wind Academy doesn't have a genius like Dongbu Shuang, but speaking of which, we really can't compare to him. He was only 22 years old, but he was able to fight on par with Xiang Pangyun, and finally died together. I've been in the academy for so long, but this is the first time I've seen the Eternal Wind Academy's dean. I didn't expect it to be because of Dongbu Shuang. The Eternal Wind Academy's dean has been cultivating for 8 to 10 years, many students have never had the chance to see the dean since they entered the academy. To be able to see him once is already a great fortune. I can hear that the dean is very sad about Dongbu Shuaying's matter, he told us, I guess it's to encourage us. That's right, Dongbu Shuaying didn't have a powerful teacher to guide him, and only trained by himself, yet he was able to become so strong. Speaking of this, it's really a pity that such a genius died like this. The two female mages talked as they walked. Jing Qiu, on the other hand, was stunned. The Eternal Wind Academy's dean's appearance was a big deal, but there was another piece of news that shocked her even more. Dongbu Shuang, he. Jing Qiu was confused, he's dead? She could still remember. The black-robed young man who had dashed towards her in the midst of her despair, in the midst of the countless rocks that had exploded. The black-robed young man who had used a shield to block all the falling rocks in the darkness, completely protecting her. The seemingly ordinary man, but he was like a huge mountain. Impossible, there must be something wrong with the news, there must be. Jing Qiu immediately ran to ask the others in the academy. Dongbu Shuang had no idea what was happening in the outside world. In the vast and majestic dilapidated main hall, Dongbu Shuang sat cross-legged, cultivating. The surging energy of the heavens and earth surged continuously into his body, and was absorbed by his body. It had been almost 5 months since he fell into the Black Wind Abyss. These days, he had been cultivating, trying his best to increase his strength. Phew! Dongbu Shuang opened his eyes, they were very bright. Finally, my body has reached its limit, I can no longer increase it any further. Dongbu Shuang felt the vigorous power in his body. His speed, strength, and many other aspects had all reached an extremely shocking level. I should give it a try. There should be some hope of defeating these two transcendent alchemy creatures. Dongbu Shuang looked at the golden ape and golden rock in the distance. 5 months had passed, and these two transcendent alchemy creatures had not taken a single step out of the boundary.